I'm still here.
No, where's my? There you are. Oh, it's because you're here. God, stupid thing. Go back. Full screen. There we go. Go away. Okay. I hit the live, so we should be live. And this sucks because it always takes forever to for you to see it, but what the heck. Um,
We're live.
okay, hold on. I gotta. Oh, that's better. I need the ability to push
This
my
is.
chair
I've
back.
got the sound on.
What?
I have the sound going so you can hear it. The test.
Whoa, that was weird. Hold on.
So we're good. We're good.
Wait, yeah, that was very weird. It was just all yours. It was just your voice, and then your lips weren't moving. You closed your eyes and you put your head back. And I'm like, how is he doing this sorcery? I don't. And then the
What?
screen
Well,
froze, and then
you're
it
a
caught
few.
up.
I was gonna say you're a few seconds behind that. I did that a little bit ago.
Yeah, yeah, it was so weird. But it was like the voice was. Yeah, that was really weird. That was really weird. Okay, sorry, we're live, and I'm holding up I'm holding up the show. Okay, let's let's do the intro. 3, 2, 1. This podcast is brought to you by the Arate. Sorry, let's do that again, Jordan. Intro in 3, 2,
Well, let's
1.
do it
We're
live.
doing it. This is the beauty of live television. Okay, let's do it again. Uh, 3, 2, 1. This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Podcast Network. Go to aratemedia.org to see other podcasts from all of our friends. And if you would like to start your own podcast, you can contact them at aratemedia.org. That's ARETE media.org. On with the show, Jordan.
Nailed it on the first
That
take.
was the first take. As far as Spotify is concerned, that was the first take. If you're watching this on YouTube, you saw all the awkwardness that preceded this that I own as host of a podcast. And anyway,
Anyway,
anyway, um, welcome to the
we're having
Spur of the
fun.
Moment podcast. I am your host, Justin Spurr, joined as always by my cheeky fucking co-host, the incomparable Jordan.
Well, hey, I'm incomparable. I can't
No
be
one,
compared to.
no one compares. No one else could possibly compare. Today, brought to you by and sponsored by TrophySmack.com. More on them later in the show, but TrophySmack.com. Thanks to them as always. Today on the show, we got news as we always do. Apparently, there's a live action Naruto movie. Stuff's coming out. Stuff that coming
Why?
out. We're gonna talk about stuff that I didn't realize was coming out. That apparently is coming out. There were some game announcements. They're changing the name to Avengers. We'll talk about Borderlands for a bit. More. I got a shit ton of stuff to talk about today. And then later, it's based on a true story. I mean, this podcast was based on a true story. But the stuff we're going to be talking about is based on a true story.
It's true.
Anyway, let's start off the news, Jordan. Beginning the news. Jordan, do the news sound.
Do 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 do
It's
do
still terrible.
news.
Okay, let's start. Let's start off with apparently there's a live action Naruto movie happening.
Why?
I don't
Why?
I don't know.
Like, there's no way. There's no way that's gonna be good.
I mean they
They
never
never are.
are. They never
They
are.
never
They're
are.
never good. But look, at least we're elevated to the quality of at least it looks like the thing.
I guess,
Like there's I've
but
seen in terms
I
of that
mean,
an
so is it
adjacently.
based on? Is it based on the first one where they're kids, or is it based
I
on the
assume so.
Shippuden?
I assume it's the first one.
Okay.
Certainly, I assume that's what they're gonna go for. But the bit of news, what I will say is, yeah, at least we have the benefit of they look like the thing they're based on now. Like I saw a lot of side by sides of that Avatar show where it was like, it sure looks like the cartoon now, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah, but it's a
that,
bastardized
that's
version.
we're crossing the bare minimum there, but sure, why not? But yeah, apparently it's gonna be directed by the guy who direct or the director. I don't know if it's a guy, it might be a woman, who directed Shang-Chi. So I'm like, you know
Oh,
what? Okay,
okay.
okay, I see it.
He knows kung fu.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
fits into the theming.
yeah.
Okay,
And there's some
maybe.
there's some tight like I maintain. It always bothers me when people are like X movie saves cinema. Shang-Chi saves cinema, and people don't appreciate that Shang-Chi doesn't get enough respect because it saves cinema. Because that was the movie that basically ensured that No Way Home went to theaters. that movie was the test kitchen. They put it out, I think, on like Labor Day weekend, if I'm not mistaken, and that they put that out to see if it superhero movies could still make money in theaters. And it went out and it crushed it. It like broke records, and then that told them that it was a safe bet to put No Way Home because otherwise they might have put No Way Home on streaming.
Interesting.
And it would have been a whole different ball game had that happened. That would have basically been the end for movie theaters. So like it saved movies. Anyone who says Barbie saved movies is a liar because it was Shang-Chi. And yeah, that movie had some competent like that bus sequence where they're fighting the guys on the bus. Like there's some good kung fu shit in
Oh, there's
there.
good kung fu shit in there for sure. That's one thing that I enjoyed about it. I
Yeah.
like a good kung fu movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and if it's like, hey man, really, if you're gonna do a Naruto, I'm not a huge Naruto guy, so the story means nothing to me.
I
So
am.
like, just make it look cool, slow motion, and like ninja shit. Just really emphasize the ninja shit. Like don't try to be like it's
Well,
Dragon Ball with ninjas like they're gonna do.
for me, the thing that makes a good Naruto movie difficult, it's the same thing that makes a good Dragon Ball movie difficult, is you've had the same voice for English in particular, for me, the dub. You've had the
Yeah,
same voice actor doing the character for the entirety of the time. So to have a live action person come in and try to do that character, it's always going to feel and sound wrong to me
yeah, and for
because
me,
Naruto and Goku, both of them in particular, have a very distinct voice.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like I just don't. It always turns into they're doing they're doing the lines from the show but not quite right. Like that's what that One Piece
Yeah.
show looked like to me, where it was like he just doesn't have the same. He's trying. By gosh, he's trying, but it's just not. It's like yeah, like but that was gonna be my next question though. Is
Because
do you think
reality has a hard time capturing things that animate. The point of animation is that it can allow you to do things that you cannot do in real life. So
yeah.
Luffy in particular, his stretching and stuff. I don't care how good your CGI is, it's never going to look the same as an animation,
Well
like a
then at a
2D
certain
anime
point,
animation is.
it turns back around and it just becomes a cartoon again, right?
Yeah,
Because yeah, it's like oh, it's a cartoon. It's just a 3D animated cartoon that looks real. It's still a cartoon. But that was gonna be my next question though. Was if this does well, because I guess it's coming out as a movie. If they're making it with the Shang Chi director, that tells me it's going to be an American production, not a Japanese one. So that makes me wonder: a, if it's going to go to theaters, if it's a Netflix joint, like a One Piece, and if it succeeds, if it does go to theaters, we'll pretend it does go to theaters. Does that pave way for a Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z movie? And if they do a live action Dragon Ball thing, do you think do you think they do Dragon Ball or do they skip right to Z because that's what everyone knows and cares about?
I think if they do it, big if, they skip to Z
And they
because
do
that's what sells.
yeah, they do the Saiyan saga because that has betrayal,
Yeah.
that has brotherhood, that has two similar looking people who can fight each other and they're
It
humans.
has
And
everything.
then in the
Yeah.
climax you have them turn into the Great Apes. And you can condense that
And
arc
not
into a
only
movie. You totally could.
not only does it bring in Vegeta and Nappa, but it has the low level grunts of the Cybermen that they have to
Yeah.
fight first.
For a nice
And
action a nice clean
that's the
action
first
sequence, yeah.
action scene, like it brings everything in and
Oh, I
yeah, no,
mean, you can
absolutely.
condense that arc from Raditz to Nappa and there's so much filler that you could just condense into a montage. Like
Yeah.
you have the first act where it's like, yeah, Goku's your main hero. You have the first act where Raditz shows up, and that's your first act. Oh my God, there's bigger things out there than we realize. Moment he gets swamped and killed by um by Raditz, and then he trains in the afterlife, whatever. And then yeah, the big climax of the second act climax is they fight Nappa, and then yeah, the big climax is they fight Vegeta, or he fights Vegeta, and then part of the climax they always have a big CGI monster that you're grade 8 right there, boom, bing bang boom, it like writes itself. Like it can
Yeah.
absolutely that I love that
I
arc. You
just
can condense it into a movie. You could.
if they were to make that, I just would hope that they would learn from all the many many mistakes that Dragon Ball Evolution
Yeah.
made.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that jump started our reviewing movies on the internet career.
oh boy, did it. Oh
Man,
boy, did
since
it.
then I've seen so many movies. Maybe I'll cue to me cut in if I can clip of me saying there's no movie that could possibly be worse than Dragon Ball Evolution. Give it a second. Maybe I did that. Maybe I didn't. Maybe this is a short. Maybe it's not. Who knows? But I once said that, and I've since seen so many movies worse than that movie.
I mean, I don't know. It's still up there
It's
for
still one.
bad.
It's one of the worst ones. Yeah, I don't think you need to do a Dragon Ball movie. I don't. No one's gonna get that. No one's gonna appreciate
No,
that.
and I
They
mean, if
want
you were
laser
gonna
beams and that. They want that.
if you're gonna do it, then you gotta commit to it and
Yeah.
like have it be a kid and do the whole shebang. Like maybe the whole like the first like what our Canadian stuff did, where it's the first 13, it's up to peel off and all that. Like maybe you
Yeah, you
can
could
do
do
that,
Pilaf as a
but
movie. Yeah, yeah, you could. You could do Pilaf as a movie.
um but like if you were gonna do a Dragon Ball movie, that's what I would do.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
I would do peel off.
See what they like
Um,
Netflix. I mean, there's no way it hasn't been discussed. Like, there's once again, there's an 8 episode Netflix version of this that's been condensed down to nothing that I guarantee you is
oh,
out there.
probably.
That involves him, that condenses it all the way up to him fighting Piccolo because that's all anyone cares about from that series, which is a shame. It's weird to say that Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball. Hey, maybe this is a hot take. I don't know, but I think the original Dragon Ball is underrated. I think it's criminally underrated in the sense that not enough people appreciate it.
Certainly, I think that it's become overshadowed by what it became.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. To be fair, we were absolutely that way until we did that rewatch of all of Dragon Ball, where we were
Of
like,
all of it,
and we
yeah,
were like, you know
yeah.
what? At least for me, I personally would. The original Dragon Ball is so much better than I gave it credit for. And there's this one guy I follow on Twitter who constantly says that people need to go back. There's a lot of criticisms, a lot of shit people talk about Goku, where it's like, oh, Goku's dumb and Goku's this and Goku's that, and it's like, well, no, if you go back and you watch, or Goku's uneducated, it's like, no, he part of the Turtle Hermit training is a formal education. Like he was tutored.
Educate your
Yeah,
mind.
educate your mind, and it's like. There's or the number one that gets me is the Yamcha disrespect. I've made so many TikToks about this, but it drives me crazy. That Yamcha constantly gets shit on because of that because of that Cyberman, because of that friggin' Cyberman. Like he gets shit on all the time because of that Cyberman, and he beat that Cyberman. That Cyberman cheated. That's the only reason why that stupid image of him in the creator. Everyone always paints it, and Dragon Ball itself, paints it as though he like took a whooping from a Cyberman, and like he did not take a whooping from a Cyberman. He beats the Cyberman.
That's
Sorry,
fair.
I feel very passionate about that Yamcha slander.
Yeah, I can tell. It really got to you there, you know?
Yeah.
But so if they made a live action one, my point is just that I
My thing is
make it
though,
better.
my
Make it better than the last one.
my
You have a really low bar to pass over. Just don't do any worse than they did.
My thing is they always like these live action movies now. They look pretty, but they don't it's just like I think I called the Avatar one. I said it looks like cosplay. Like it looks like someone has spent a great deal of money to make this look accurate, but it hasn't bothered to put any effort into the writing or like the performance or like they're not really capturing the. And it's like it's like I mean you simplified it to its most basic principle of not everything needs to be live action, but to make it to put it in a more eloquent way. Sometimes things don't translate into other mediums, and it's not just live action to anime. Like
No, we've
sometimes,
talked about Dear Evan Hansen
yeah,
in the
yeah,
movie
yeah,
format.
yeah. I don't think we've talked about it here, but yeah, taking the concept of taking like a play, a stage play, what works on the stage doesn't always work on screen. And if you want to see a masterclass of why that's the case, go watch the Dear Evan Hansen movie because that is a seminar on why stage plays don't necessarily translate why things that work on stage don't translate to screen, but we don't have time to go through that.
No,
Maybe in our inevitable musical episode that we do eventually, maybe we'll talk about it then because that movie still makes me sad,
stay tuned.
and not in the ways that yeah, the musical episode is coming. It's gonna come eventually.
I mean,
um
it has to. It's an eventuality. It's a fixed point.
it is,
It's gonna
it
happen.
is. Okay, yeah. So moving on. They announced that there's going to be a new Fairly Odd Parents show.
Why?
They're calling it a spin-off, but
Can we
it's
just
it's more of
can
a
we just stop
sequel.
beating this dead horse?
It's more of a sequel. Well, it brings back the Cosmo and Wanda, and it's about a new girl. She moves to the new city, and she's moved next door to Cosmo and Wanda, who are retired, and they come out of retirement. Um, to be godparents again to this girl and grant her wishes and whatever. At least that's what the. But what makes me laugh about it is
Nay, nay, stop beating me.
um,
Nay.
what made me laugh about it was all of the marketing for it and all of the announcements for it just kind of seemed to want to quietly forget that live action sitcom that they tried to do. Like, well, like,
I forgot about
yeah,
that.
I bet you did. Yeah, they tried to do it. They tried to, and it was a live action animation thing. I didn't watch a single one, but it was like it brought back the two.
Was that the one with Drake Bell?
No, 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 no. That was those were a series of movies they did. No, this was an actual show where it's. Wait, man, Discord's being laggy today. I don't know what the heck that is. Anyway,
It's not for me.
weird. Um, it's no, it was a sitcom where it's Jimmy's cousins, I think. Jimmy's an adult. Timmy is an adult still, and he gives up the fairies, but he gives it to like his nieces or nephews or cousins. It's like a really weak familial link, and they wind up with they wind up with Cosmo and Wanda, who are animated and voiced by the original ones, and Jorgen is there, and he's also animated. And I didn't watch the show, so that's where the wishes get split between two people, and they both wish for it, and it just kind of sounds like
That sounds awful.
it's like a very it's a it's a by the numbers basic Nickelodeon sitcom like an iCarly or one of those.
Like an iCarly or
Yeah,
Victoria or
and it
whatever.
got
Yeah, yeah.
canceled after like one season because nobody watched it because they were like, why? The whole appeal to this show is that it's animated, and it wasn't very. So it's just funny. They're all like actively trying to forget that it exists, which I think is funny.
Yeah. They'll beat
Um,
that dead horse
yeah,
forever.
oh, absolutely. And so another
And yet Nickelodeon won't bring back the one that people want, Danny
Well,
Phantom.
apparently, there's a live. I forgot to mention this. This came out a few weeks ago, and I meant to mention it in one of my stories, but I wholly forgot. They're supposedly making a movie, a live action movie. Um,
I
which
mean, that's not what people want.
no, but that's the one rare instance where like yeah, as long, but not a don't do a Nickelodeon made for streaming. It gets a fraction of it, but do a theatrical thing and give it like a shit ton of money. Do an origin story. And yeah, man, a big CGI fucking monstrosity of a climax. Yeah, for that franchise, yeah, I'm into it. Like just
I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
like
okay,
Blue Beetle, but
but
it's Danny
people,
Phantom for
yeah.
contemporary
I
reference.
mean, I don't get me wrong, I'd be down for that. That'd be sick. I just people also want them to bring back the live action show, like they're
Yeah,
not live action, the animated show.
yeah. I know that there's I think a comic that's I'm pretty sure it's a sequel,
Yeah, I think there's a comic which continues it.
and it's apparently
It's like
quite
it's like
good.
it's like the actual. It's not from the one dude,
Yeah, Butch Hartman's not
but it's
involved.
like the yeah, it's the actual person who does the art.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And Butch Hartman is not involved because he is terrible. Um, bad bloke. Um, up next we got a rapid fire of things the segment I call this stuff's coming out. Apparently they announced that Harry Potter series that nobody wants. Um, is
Oh, they're doubling down on
oh
that.
yeah, it's coming. Not only is it coming out, Jordan, but David Zaslav, the guy everyone hates the most on Earth. For you, Jordan, you don't know who David Zaslav is. Um,
No,
he's
I don't.
he's the CEO of Warner Brothers, and he's the guy
Oh,
who
the guy who keeps canceling movies.
yeah he's the guy who canceled Batgirl and
Oh,
he canceled Acme
okay,
versus
I get it. I understand the hate.
yeah he's the
So
world
he's a dickbag.
yeah he's the world's worst human being. Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah. Big
yeah.
big old bag of dicks.
Yeah, yeah. He wants to actively kill art, and yeah, everyone hates him. He met with the world's second most hated person, J.K. Rowling. Um, and so if this thing stood a chance of anyone who still somehow is okay with Harry Potter and can compartmentalize, remove art from artists, anyone who is still in, kind of tepidly, at that point, no one's in, and that's just a bad move. The only way this thing was gonna work is if you cut off J.K. Rowling and you just like gave her a executive producer cred and in no way involved her creatively. It was the only way
I
this thing
mean,
stood a chance.
yeah, but that was never gonna happen.
No, it
She
obviously
won't.
was never gonna happen. She has no way of letting go. But that
No.
was the only way. And now it's like I mean I just feel the only people I feel bad for in this scenario. I mean, as someone pointed out that WB is looking to like sell the company and like HBO Max probably isn't even going to be around in 2026 anyway. But I just feel bad for the poor kids who have to be these characters. Like no one's gonna win. No one wins in this scenario. That's my thing with this. Nobody wins. The the only people who win are the people who are still somehow super obsessed with Harry Potter, who come in my comment section all the time if you remotely even suggest that Harry Potter is a poorly written novel series and J.K. Rowling is a bad writer. I'm not wrong.
I didn't say you were.
You didn't say I was. I'm not wrong. She is.
I'm I'm
Read.
I'm tacit I'm tacitly supporting your statement.
I I my hot take that is gonna get me in trouble because it always gets me in trouble. But like I'm begging you, re-listen to or reread those books with like a critical eye and like the brain of an adult,
I,
and you'll
I
be like, they're
mean,
bad books.
all you really need to do is mention how she introduces the idea of the time turner, and then by book 5, she's like, "Oh wait, they have time turners and can rewind time and have time magic. We need to nip this bud right, like nip this right in the bud," and uses that part when they're at the ministry to destroy all that shit,
Right?
and then brings it back for the cursed child.
Right, which they maintained, and everyone who's like, "Oh, it's not canon," it is advertised and marketed as the eighth book. It counts, and it's awful. And she George Lucas her own franchise. It was terrible.
Ah.
I will never forget the first time I read that, where I was like, "This is fake, right? This can't be real. This can't be the real thing." And then the script came out like a few weeks later, and it was like, "No, this is real, and it's bad. It's easily one of the worst things to this day. It is." It is truly remarkable. It's one of those things that it's so bad that you're kind of impressed. How could it possibly be that bad? And it's one of those things where I've heard over the years that when you watch it, it's a visual spectacle, so you forget it. But then other reviews are like, no, the writing is just as bad as it looks in the script. So like, but it's bad.
We could make a whole deep dive about that.
Yeah. Oh my. And then
But
and then
but
obviously
but
the
I don't think we have the time for
I
that.
mean, and then there's obviously there's the two where they're in the case, where they're probably in the case. Oh yeah, they're in the case movies.
I mean, I like the first one.
The first one's okay, and then they get not good, and then
They
they
get
and then they're electing
convoluted.
wizard president with a magical horse.
Was it a horse? Wasn't it? I think it was a goat
I'm pretty sure it was a
or
magic.
something.
It was a four
I
legged
just I
magical
just
creature. Pretty sure it
I
was a
just
horse.
remember I just remember it was small. It wasn't horse size.
I mean, it was roughly. It was like a baby horse size.
Anyway, I don't remember well enough to
Um,
say yay or nay.
apparently, they're making Purge 6, which my immediate reaction to that is there is a Purge 4 and 5.
I mean, my immediate reaction to that is, I mean, yeah, that checks out. It's kind of become like the newest Saw.
Yeah,
There's a bajillion of them.
at this point, yeah. The last one I remember was there was 3. When did the fourth and fifth one come out? What is the fourth? What is the fourth and fifth one? There's a fourth and fifth one? This is not a bit. I'm legitimately asking.
I honestly, yeah, I don't even remember there being a third
The
one.
last one I remember was like came out right shortly after Donald Trump became president, and those movies like really leaned into him being president and like really went like, yeah, Donald Trump's the guy who's gonna do the purge. If it were to happen, it'd be Donald Trump. He'd be the guy, and everyone who supports him would
Mm.
probably like it. And it was like, yeah, they kind of really benefited from him becoming president. And then that's the last one I remember.
I I seem to remember there being a show.
Was there a show?
For some reason that I'm making it up. Maybe that's something I've just created in my mind, but it sticks in my brain.
I just remember the one where it had Frank Grillo in it,
Things
and
to
everyone.
look up later.
Yep, yeah. I don't know, but apparently it's going to be more centered on the Frank Grillo character, who was the guy in the second one, who was like the super badass, and everyone was like, he should be the Punisher, and then he wasn't, but he should have been. He should have been the Punisher. He ended up being
I
the.
want I want them to have one where it's about the first
I
purge
think
and
they.
showing what. and showing what, and maybe that's the fourth or fifth one.
That I
I
think
don't know.
I
I didn't know those existed.
now that you
But if it doesn't exist, I want them to make one where it's about the first purge and you find out what caused them
I,
to create it in the first
I'm
place.
pretty sure that movie exists. I'm pretty sure it's. I think you're right. I think it's the fourth or fifth one. I think it's literally called The First Purge, and it's a prequel.
I don't know. I didn't know those existed until just a few moments ago.
I
Could
didn't.
be. I'm too lazy to look it up
That
right
I
now.
could not be bothered to look it up. And it's funny because this is sounding like a bit. It's not. It's not a bit. It's not
I
a
mean, it's
bit.
it's it's not a bit. I didn't know that those
I
existed.
didn't know they existed. Legit. And I like those movies
It's
too.
just like I
We went
said,
to
it's
the
just one
theater
of
to
those
watch the second
series.
one.
It's just one of those series that's become like the newest Saw or Freddy or Jason
Yeah.
or any of those where it's like, yeah, I can believe there's a bajillion of them. It's a theme that kind of lends itself to like, yeah, Purge Holiday shows up. You can get away with murder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bad things happen.
Yeah.
Like
No,
bad
no.
things happen. It happens all over the country. You could make 50,000 of them. You could make one where it takes place in New York, one where it takes place in California. You could have one where Disney pays to be themed in it and it takes place at Disneyland.
I mean, yeah, yeah.
I'd watch that.
I mean, Disney would never do that, but yeah, 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 yeah. Are you
I don't know. They
familiar?
bought Fox and all these adult kind of movies are on their
Yeah,
platform.
I don't think that they'd be like, yeah, we're gonna let the purge happen at Disneyland. I mean, the purge would absolutely happen at Disneyland, but I'm just like if the purge were to
I mean,
exist,
can you not
billionaires
see the
would buy up Disneyland, and the purge would happen at Disneyland.
can
There'd
you
be
not can
mascots
you
doing
not
purge
see
stuff. It would happen. It would
can
happen.
can you not see the tagline of is it really still the happiest place on earth?
I mean, I can't believe like somebody.
And you say that it could never happen. I say Disney, you've lost the rights to Steamboat Willie. People are going to make a horror movie about your
Yeah,
beloved
no,
mascot. Lean into it
they would never
and
do that.
let them have the purge.
They would never ever let them do the purge colon Disneyland. They would never that there's no but I would I mean
I'm
somebody out there
just saying,
someone out there
Disney, show us you have the balls.
someone
Make
out
it a
there who
thing.
one of those bajillion Steamboat Willie horror knockoffs, do that. Do make it where it's like make it just legally distinct enough where it's like it takes place at like Disneyland. And yeah, it's he's not technically Mickey and have I do the purge but at Disneyland. Somebody make that
He's
movie. And it's like it's just for the
he's
purge but at
Winston.
Disneyland.
He,
Exactly. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
Winston Mouse.
And have his friend Winnie the Pooh there. The Pooh Bear, not
Yeah,
Pooh Bear. Yeah.
yeah.
You have two of the Disney
Pooh Bear
characters you
there.
can use, and that's. But yeah, no, Disney would never let that happen. Are you familiar with the movie The Crow?
No,
No. Oh, that's it's from the
not by
80s,
name
I
anyway.
think, or 90s. It's Bruce Lee's son was in it, and he was the Crow, and that's the one. That's one of the ones when people talk about like gun incidents on movie sets. He was shot, and he got shot with a blank, and it killed him.
Oh,
And that's that. I'm surprised that you didn't hear about it. Usually, it came up when the whole thing with Alec Baldwin happened. But and then every time they've tried to remake it or do something with it, somebody has gotten injured. Like I think they made a few sequels that with different actors, and they all got injured or died. And so it's one of those everyone thinks it's cursed, so nobody's tried to make it kind of things for like a long time. But there's a remake coming out, and it's a good movie. I've seen it. It's basically a guy and a guy and his girlfriend, I think like they get killed and he comes back to life as like a supernatural superhero called the Crow, and he seeks revenge, and I think he murders them. And it's really good. It's really a lot of good action, and it's really fun. It's really dark, and I'm excited for this remake. I will definitely watch it when it comes out in June apparently.
hmm.
Oh yeah,
I have a
apparently.
news thing.
Sure.
Have you seen? This has been circling around on my TikTok. It's a trailer for this game, which I wish was coming out for console, but is apparently only coming out for PC or Steam. Where basically it's like a medieval strategy type one, except you come from the future, so like you can drive your car, your ATV or whatever, and you end up in the past driving through like these waves of enemies of like that are doing the arrows and stuff, and like you can switch between doing like a top down like RTS style control and like the third person you're driving through, and you can bring helicopters to the past, and it looks like a fun time, and the entire story is based around like as I understand it how uh Like you have to go back and change the past, make sure that your team, like your side, wins to stop this thing that happened in the future or something like that. I don't know all the story details,
Interesting.
but it sounds like a lot of fun, and it's upsetting to me that it's only for Steam.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get it. I get it because clearly the technological like power that you need to make those transitions happen seamlessly. Maybe the consoles just aren't capable of it.
yeah,
I don't know. But it's one of those ones that I kind of hope it does well on Steam so that maybe they consider porting it.
yeah. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Um, Apparently Uncharted 2 is coming. And Mark Wahlberg has given up an update on the sequel. He's given an optimistic update. He says that the script is in, and he was told to start growing a mustache. And that's my favorite part of that movie. And only good part. That's not true. Actually, there's two good parts of that movie. The costume design, which was phenomenal. The costumes absolutely look like the game. Like that. That was. I will not dispute that. And the post-credit scene where it was he's got a mustache now. It was all building to Sully having that mustache. That's what the
I don't really have a lot of strong memories about that one. I just remember it being aggressively
it
average.
was okay. It was like, yeah, no,
Like it was fine.
there's a
It's just
the reason why this works in video game form is because the story of this game is a pretty by the numbers standard B 1980s action movie like or like
yeah,
90s 2000s action movie. It's about a by the numbers one of those as you can be, but you get to do the stuff, and that's
yeah,
where I remember back when the second one came out saying that I thought that was the future of summer blockbusters, but you got to participate. Um, Once you remove the element of participation, it just becomes a by the numbers action movie with nothing really all that. Like I've seen this.
Indiana Jones,
It was
Tomb
Indiana
Raider.
Jones. It was Tomb Raider. It
Yeah,
was like I've seen this. I've seen this before, and it works when it's a video game. Like when you have a charismatic character, it carries a video game quite a long ways. Just look at Sonic the Hedgehog. Um, but in a movie, not so much. You need a bit more than
yeah.
a charismatic character.
It kind of just becomes okay.
And none of the stories like let's say that the second one. I mean, this one didn't really adapt any other than the climax, and if I recall, it had the brother in it, so it borrowed elements of number four, but for the most part, it was just its own story. So I guess maybe they could do a straight adaptation of one of the games. But like other none of those stories, I'm like I don't need to. I played them. I don't need to see them in a movie.
Yeah. If I wanted to do it, I'd just go play the game again.
Yeah, except for I'd skip the first one because the first one's terrible. They keep hinting.
It's aged.
Yeah, yeah, it's aged. They keep hinting that they're gonna do a remake of that, like they've done for The Last of Us. Apparently, originally there was a point where they were gonna do a remake, and it was either gonna be The Last of Us or Uncharted, and they did The Last of Us, and I was like, boo. I like The Last of Us, but I would have preferred
Ooh.
Uncharted. Yeah, boo. But yeah, he's threatening us with that. Um. Oh yeah, I pulled the all the games that were announced at Nintendo Showcase, which weren't terribly interesting, except for Epic Mickey, which is coming to the Switch with a pretty new remake that is only coming to the Switch. I guess is not coming to PlayStation
From what I saw, it's coming to all the systems.
Oh, is it interesting? I'd love to play
That's
that
what
on
I
the.
saw.
I wouldn't mind playing that on PS5.
I would play that. I will probably be playing that on PlayStation.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to be playing that on PlayStation 5.
I've never finished it because I hated the Wii
I have
controls.
no I have no impulse control, and I like the second one because it was on PlayStation. I liked those controls.
Yeah, yeah.
So really, if they just take that and put it on like do it like that, I'm down.
I've never played the second one because I've always wanted to beat the first one, and
Uh, we played the demo together.
yeah, we played a little bit of it, but not much.
Not
Um,
much.
and I've
I
never
mean, I
beaten the
played it
first
by
one.
myself, but
Yeah, I've never beaten the first one because yeah, I hated the Wii controls. Hated it
I
so much.
I I hated the Wii controls, but I did beat the first one because I was committed.
Yeah, so I would like to play that one again. So I'm pretty excited. And then they announced that finally that the new game plus is finally coming to Spider-Man.
Oh.
Uh, that's
Yeah, along with some new features as well.
yeah, some new features and some new suits. which are $5 that don't sound interesting. I mean, I don't know what the flying fresh suit is, but
apparently, apparently, so
I don't
they're
like paying for
adding those
suits.
ones. They're adding those ones, but they're also adding a bunch of free ones.
Okay. Is it
Those
getting called?
ones, the paid ones are basically, if you read the fine print, the first like a certain amount of people from the U.S. When they buy it, it's donating towards a cause. That's why it
Um,
costs money.
gotcha.
But for us, they would just be making a profit off of us because we're from Canada.
Yeah.
But um, no, they look awful, so I would never pay for
I
those
haven't.
ones.
I didn't look at any of them.
Apparently, a bunch of the ones that they're adding that are free are also a bunch of collab ones, like the Adidas one that's at the end of the game,
Okay.
which I saw some of the concept art, and it doesn't look great.
No, I don't like the concept of paying for suits. I think suits. I don't mind paying for DLC when it has a story. When it's a story DLC and it comes with suits, that's a whole different conversation. But I don't like paying the idea of paying for suits. That's
That's why I wanted to put in the fine print that the reason why those ones are paid is it's supposed to be for a charity thing.
yeah, all right, okay.
I I would not be surprised if once that run, like once that charity run ends, if it became free
Oh,
DLC.
probably, yeah, probably. Um, um,
That wouldn't it wouldn't surprise me because that they don't like in the first one they didn't sell out. They didn't sell out in Miles Morales and make it so you had to pay for any of the suits. This is so far the only time they've done that, and it's for a cause.
yeah.
So in this one rare instance of not being cynical, choose to believe that once that goal is no longer applicable and they can't, like, they're not, it's no longer a thing, that it will become free.
Here's
Not
hoping.
that I want the suits anyway, but
Yeah, yeah, fair
I
enough.
choose to not be cynical because they've earned that benefit of the doubt.
Apparently, Avengers is no longer going to be called. The next Avengers movie is no longer going to be called Kang Dynasty. They apparently are dropping the Kang Dynasty from it. Is getting a new title, which probably means that Kang is no more so. But the ongoing rumors and reporting is that it wasn't because of the Jonathan Major stuff that they were already moving away from him because of the wet fart of a reception he received at the end of Ant-Man. Nobody really seemed to jive with him, which is a shame because I did. I liked him. I thought the idea was cool,
Yeah, I liked him. I had no issues with him.
but also I mean okay, yeah, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know what they do because they want to make the last one Secret Wars, so just kind of like maybe don't do this one as the last one, do it as Secret Wars, and do the because they clearly want to do everyone comes back and they all do one last jog around the track and field and they all do a little wave as they do their you know what I mean, like they want to do
Yeah.
that one last time for all of these guys, and they clearly feel they need two movies to do it, and it's just about finding that movie to do it. Like I certainly don't think like doing the next one as World War Hulk and then doing Secret Wars. It just doesn't escalate. That doesn't escalate for that. That's a grounded world level like
Yeah, not a space
conflict,
one.
not a spacey one. And I understood
Well,
how.
I mean, unless they change the story drastically and make it where, yeah, he conquers the planet within the first 15 minutes, and then World War Hulk is about him spreading from planet to planet.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I personally was very pro. Don't move away from Kang. Don't be a fucking coward. Just recast. But I mean, if they were already moving away from it, um, all right, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, just don't. I just don't want them to be like it was Doctor Doom because to me that's lazy and a cop out. I kind of think they should do have it be Galactus and make it instead of it being maybe instead of him being a world ender, he's a universe ender. He eats universes and like have it where the Fantastic Four are from another universe and he ate their universe and he's followed the Fantastic Four to the 616 universe. That's big. And then they beat Galactus and then he and then the next one
That
is
also
Beyonder.
that also integrates the whole multiverse angle of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you could be
Like
like,
he eats branches off the tree.
yeah, and that's where the
Or like you
Battle
could
World.
turn
I'm
it so
sorry.
that the metaphor of it all is that each of the universes is a fruit off the tree, and he eats the fruit.
Yeah, and if you want to do it like a Infinity War style, like there's a two-parter. Just have it where Galactus looks like he's won, and then the Beyonder shows up and like obliterates him, and then sends them all to Battle World, and then boom, they're on Battle World Part 2 with Secret Wars. Boom, done. I did it for you. Marvel, pay me, please. Money, please. I solved your
If
problem. Money.
only it was that easy.
Yeah, yeah. Money. I just solved your problem narratively in a way that makes sense. Pay me, please. Um, we very briefly. You saw the Borderlands trailer. I sent it to you so we could talk about it today. Um, it's funny because everyone who is a Borderlands fan hates it. Like I've seen so many videos of people being like, the characters don't look right, and Jack Black is Claptrap. I hate it. And as someone who has played a few hours of the first one and doesn't know any of the characters' names or have any real investment in the world, definitely didn't play the second and third one or Tales of the Borderlands, has no idea who Tiny Tina is other than the occasional clip I've seen of her. I thought it looked fun. It made me want to play the games.
Yeah,
I went to PlayStation Plus to try and download it, and it's not there, and I was disappointed. I was like, ah, but it
I
looked
was never
fun.
really, I was never really big into them. I don't think I ever even beat the first one. Um, but the trailer looks fun.
I
It
like the
looks
aesthetic and I like the world.
zany.
It's the only time I've ever enjoyed a game that was post-apocalyptic. I had a lot of fun playing that game. The only reason why I stopped playing it was because I was playing it on what preceded.
PlayStation Now.
Yeah, I was playing it on PlayStation Now, and the lag was atrocious. It's the same reason why I stopped playing Darksiders was because it was so laggy. It was unplayable, and I just couldn't play it. If I got a clean version of it, I would absolutely start a new game, and I would start from scratch. But no, I thought it looked fun. I saw someone compare it to it. It really does. It reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy. I did think that
Yeah.
maybe some of the people were like a tad like it was like Kate like the one the pink haired chick. She looks like she's like it's a role that should be cast with the person who's like maybe half her age. But it still looked fun. It definitely reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy. I can see why people are saying Guardians of the Galaxy.
I could see why you'd say that.
Yeah, it really gave me that vibe, and I'm like, yeah, it looks fun and cute and fun
Zany.
and zany and weird, and I'm okay with that. Uh... Oh yeah, they announced that the initially for that new Jurassic Park movie that they announced that the director was going to be the writer. I thought the writer was going to be the guy who wrote the first one, and I can't remember who they said the director was going to be. But the original director is out, and now it's Gareth Edwards is in, and he did Rogue One, and he did the first Godzilla, the 2014 one. So I think
Okay.
he is like the most ideally suited to direct a Jurassic Park movie because that
Yeah.
guy nails scale like you would not believe. Like I really want to watch. He's got one out called Creation or Creator or something that apparently is really good. But one of my favorite. Everyone always says that Rogue One is like technically the best Star Wars movie in terms of filmmaking. I don't agree. I think it's first Star Wars. Not the point. Um, but one of my favorite scenes in a Star Wars movie ever is the one where it's the AT-ATs and they're walking through the fog and you see them from the ground and they're
And they look
massive and
gigantic. Yeah.
terrifying and like
Yeah.
amazing. So good.
Really gives you really makes you feel like you're actually down there.
Yeah. And his shit with Godzilla, like just so good. I want him to do a Jurassic Park movie. Yeah, I want to properly feel like the scale of a T-Rex and how big they are and how gigantic. Or like get a real slow-mo shot of a brontosaurus that looks sweet and like you really
Yeah.
appreciate how massive they are. I think he's the guy. I think he can do it. And yeah, I'm perfectly okay with him directing it. If we must do another Jurassic Park movie, which I don't think we should. But yeah, maybe the dinosaurs will actually be part of
Feathered.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say be part of the uh be part of the story instead of just locusts like the last one. Apparently,
Oh yeah.
they've revealed the production start date of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which means they're finally They are making Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is good because
Oh,
they
they were
should.
always gonna make yeah, they were always gonna make the second one.
Yeah,
It was
always.
it made way it had way too many people go watch it for some executive in a boardroom not to go like green light a second one. Do
Yeah,
it.
immediately greenlight a second one, and yeah, apparently
Print that money.
they're gonna start filming it in July apparently, and yeah, it says Josh Hutchinson's back, and obviously, um, Matthew Lillard signed like a 3 picture deal with it, so yeah, he's coming back.
Oh, Springtrap always comes back.
Okay, hold on.
That's a funny joke if you know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, I don't know what is with Discord today. Can you? Is there a way? Can you turn off your? Sorry, we're gonna just behind the scenes. Can you just turn off your camera and turn it back on again for me? Because it's like crazy laggy and it's really distracting to see you talk like 10 minutes from the time that you started talking. It's very distracting. That's better. Okay, hopefully doesn't keep lagging. I don't think it matters so much for the audio listeners, but for
Oh,
the
I'm not having any issues on my end.
yeah, but
That's all you.
I know, but I'm the one who's recording it, so hopefully the screen
From
that's
what I can tell on watching myself on YouTube, I'm not seeing it doesn't look like we're behind.
oh okay
I
then
mean other than the regular it's behind.
yeah okay that's fine okay so yeah Springtrap always comes back. Uh, oh yes the tie into I got a bunch of appropriately themed news stories tying into oh no let's do did you see before we do the 2 appropriately themed ones did you see the set pictures of Stitch and Lilo and Stitch they're filming Lilo and Stitch in
I
Hawaii.
think I saw one of Stitch. I don't really keep track of the live action remakes
No I
of
don't
things that are beloved and I don't think should exist. So haven't been keeping track of that. Haven't been keeping track of Moana. I think they're making a Hercules one, if I
yeah
remember correctly.
the Hercules one
Um,
interested me because
haven't
of
been keeping track of that either because I think all of these movies are an abomination.
of
Um,
the ones that if you
of them, Hercules bothers me the
yeah,
least.
I'm okay with Hercules. Lilo and Stitch, what's the point? What's the point? That movie
No.
is already like 3 steps away from being a live action movie anyway. Making it live action doesn't add anything. The only thing about it that kind of I mean, the design it looks like Stitch, but what he would look like if he were real.
Yeah,
He just looks like Stitch,
I
but now his fur has texture because it has to.
I don't need that. I'm good.
For me the stuff that interests me like well what are they gonna do? Because obviously Stitch is easy, but how are you gonna do the guys that are scary? Like all,
Mm.
all
For me, it's my issue is just that these movies just feel like it's just soulless.
I mean yeah, but that's but my question is like yeah what is Gantu gonna look like and what's Jumba and Pleakley like those things they were kind of freaky looking in the cartoon like in animated form. What are they gonna look like? There's no you can't make them look you can't bring them into the real world without them looking horrifying.
Yeah, I don't I don't get it, man.
I don't it's just meant to appeal and then yeah I don't get it I don't understand. That's the one where I was like
To be
what
fair, that's not just a you and us, like a you and me thing. A lot of people don't get it.
yeah that's the one where I'm like I don't understand. Um and then yeah then to tie us into our based on a true story theme for the back half of the episode. Um they've announced that they're making 4 separate biopics that I heard were all somehow miraculously coming out in 1 year. I don't know how that's happening, but apparently they're making 4 separate biopics about each of the Beatles separately.
Okay.
And so then my
All
question is
right.
that all going to lead to an Avengers style Beatles movie where it's just about the
Where they
Beatles?
come together and then it's about the Beatles.
Yeah,
That would be a very smart marketing ploy.
but also like who's showing up to the Ringo one? Like I don't know that I'm interested in the Ringo one. I
We're
was
gonna we're gonna put that right on the
on the foot.
fridge.
I wrote a song about an
I
octopus.
wrote a song about an
But
octopus
like, how
under
does
the
that work?
sea.
Is it just about their respective childhoods and then ends with, or is it all of about them in the Beatles and it's their each of their perspectives about what it was like to be in the Beatles? Like, I just don't. Why 4 movies? Just do one. Just do one about the Beatles. I don't think each of them needs a movie. That feels like overkill.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have to assume that each of the movies, that probably first half will be about their life before the Beatles, and second half will be from their point of view while in the
I
Beatles.
guess I just yeah. Hey, that
That's
just
the
feels like
only
it.
thing. You're right. You're right. That's the only thing that makes
Why not
sense.
just make it a
It doesn't.
series at
It
that
doesn't
point?
make sense, but
Yeah, just make it
yeah, I mean, I would make it a docu series or whatever, and have each episode be it from their point of
I
view.
mean, yeah. I
You
mean,
don't need an entire
you
movie.
make it a narrative based biopic series and just have each of the episodes bounce between them, and then yeah, you have a season's worth of television. That's what that is. Four movies. Four.
I just don't think you need four
I
movies.
don't think you need four movies. That feels like overkill. And then
That Yeah,
finally,
that boggles the mind.
and finally, in again tied in news, I have nothing really to say about this, but they're making a movie about a Nuremberg movie, which I thought was funny because the minute Oppenheimer did well, they all searched for famous scientists with famous science. So they've got the Nuremberg movie about the Nuremberg trials. Don't be surprised when there's a Heisenberg movie coming out. I'm just saying that next hot thing is nuclear physicists. They're the next hot topic of movie because Oppenheimer made us a stupid amount of money because we attached it to Barbie.
I think you mean Barbenheimer.
Yes, because of Barbenheimer. Because everyone went to see Barbie and they just happened to watch Oppenheimer. No one would have seen that. That movie would not have done nearly as well if not for Barbenheimer. And that's our requisite amount of time we have to talk about Barbenheimer. That's all we have to say about it. We don't have to say anymore. That was it.
It's too
Um,
much. It's too much. We've crossed the line.
we have, and that's the news, everybody. That's this week's news. And it's the news. It's the news. And with that, we move into the sponsorship segment of the show. And Jordan, let me ask you a question. Okay, Jordan, let's say that you love to sing in the shower, and
I do love to sing in the shower.
you feel that that performance in the shower that is Grammy award winning, but
I mean, it definitely
the
is.
Philistines at the Grammys, they don't want to nominate you. They don't want to give you that Grammy that you deserve. You know what you could do, Jordan? You could go to the link in our description to trophysmack.com and they can make you
TrophySmack.com.
trophysmack.com and
Right.
they can make you that trophy, Jordan. What sort of
And
stuff?
not just trophy, Justin. They can also make custom belts that have custom engraving. They've got necklaces, rings. They've got wall art. And even if you came to me and you're like, you know, you're a loser and you can't sing, but here's the thing anyway, because they have a loser section.
Yeah, we always forget we've done a few ad spots now, and we always forget the losers section.
Because losers should feel like winners too.
Exactly, exactly.
So trophysmack.com
Trophysmack.com. The link in our
in
description.
our link.
Yeah, use our link because that does two things. Number one, you're helping the podcast, you're helping us evolve, you're helping us grow, you're helping us improve, and that's what TrophySmack.com is about. It's about winning, it's about succeeding, and you can
It's
do that.
about
It's
celebrating.
about celebrating the victories. So number one, you help us out, and number two, you let them know that we're their friends and that we want to continue this relationship. And that's also cool. We can celebrate trophysmack.com. Link in our description. Jordan, let's move on with the show, I think.
Let's move on with the show.
I'm still I don't know what is with Discord today, but it is, man. I'm hoping on the actual stream that it didn't get weird and delayed there because that was very strange for me. Anyway, rapid fire. It's time for rapid fire. Um, Jordan, you can go first. What is your first? Do you have any rapid fires I should ask first?
I have at least two. I was gonna have three, but you changed that.
That's
Um,
fair.
so my first rapid fire is The Social Network.
Oh yes, that's a good movie.
It's a good movie, and if you remove yourself from the fact, like if you just look at it as a movie, it's a great villain origin story.
Yeah,
Like it's just a young student who ruthlessly screws over fellow students, his friends, and just rises to the top and makes billions of dollars.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
that's a great villain. You could have a superhero who comes up against him. Like that it can become a whole thing. But it is based in reality,
Yeah,
which is even scarier.
yeah. I mean that movie's that I remember. that's one of those ones. I think the trailer for it was on Inception, and I remember seeing the trailer for that and just being like, "It's the Facebook movie," and we made fun
It's
of
the
it.
fa- it's the Facebook
We were
movie.
so cynical about that movie. We're like, "There's no way it was good," and then going to watch it and being like, "Wow, yeah, it's amazing what
Um,
tight writing, and excellent performance and direction will do for a movie."
one final thing that I do wanna or that I have to say about it though is and I want to preface this with generally speaking, I like Jesse Eisenberg. Like I think he's a decent actor and he's in some enjoyable things. He has too much personality in this movie.
Yeah, if you're familiar with
If
Mark
you know
Zuckerberg,
if you know anything about Mark Zuckerberg, you know he is a soulless machine, and Jesse Eisenberg does not bring that level of energy to this.
no, yeah, he's bringing us different kind of energy. But I think I
Yeah.
read somewhere that he didn't actually meet Mark Zuckerberg beforehand because he didn't want to. He saw Mark Zuckerberg like I do in that movie as a character, not a real person, because it's much easier to
Mhm.
digest that way.
But overall, good movie. That's my first quick pick.
My first rapid fire is Ali. Um, Ali,
Ali.
Ali with Will Smith, directed by Michael Mann, which I didn't know, and it's one of the better boxing movies I've seen recently. I was just when I was searching my brain for movies that are biopics. I'm like, oh yeah, Ali. Will Smith is really good in it. I think that's kind of like the first time people went, oh shit, he can act. Um, and yeah, he's really he kind of just disappears into the role, and yeah, it's really good. Highly controversial figure Muhammad Ali. The part of the fun for these movies for me was like reading about the real life events, and there's a surprising amount of crossover in between a lot of these movies of people who happen to show up that I thought was interesting. Um,
Mm.
and we're gonna air away from the political stuff in it, but it was interesting. It was an interesting movie. That was Ali. You go. You may go next.
The only other rapid fire that I have is one that I couldn't technically get away with choosing it as one of my picks because it's not much like the actual like much like the artist himself. Uh, it is uh, a master at parody.
Yeah.
Uh, he is known for his musical parody, and of course, so if he was making a biopic about himself, it would have to be a parody of
Yeah. That's a
biopics,
brilliant
and
parody.
that's it's brilliant. And that's it's called Weird. It's the Weird Al Yankovic quote unquote biopic.
Yep.
Um, and I rapid firing here because I got to keep this brief. It has elements in it that are true. It has like aspects of it that are true, but overall the story itself is a parody of the genre. It's actually in a lot of ways very much. When I talk about my one of my actual picks, I see the exact things that it's making fun of in that movie, the
Yeah.
steps and like everything, like it's so accurate to what a biopic, like what a musical
Yeah.
biopic is portrayed as, but in a parody way.
Non-supportive parents, a drug habit, a girlfriend who's
I,
a bad influence. It's got all of it. It's got all the things that
like
make biopic movies funny.
girlfriend or partner or what have you,
Yeah.
yeah. And also, as an aside, going back to the Marvel thing, because this is whenever people are like Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine, I don't know about Wolverine, but certainly like he could be a superhero or a Marvel character.
Yeah,
Watching him do
there's an action
the
sequence in
fight
that. Yeah,
scenes,
yeah, yeah.
the fight scenes in this
Surprisingly
where like
good
oh,
action sequences. You're
he's
like,
he's a yeah, they're tight,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he fully makes it believable. So yeah, I could see him in a Marvel thing.
Yeah, my the
Um,
one I wanted was he said he wanted to do a buddy action comedy with The Rock, and I've always said I want him to do a buddy action movie with The Rock, but I want to subvert it where The Rock is the one who's not the badass, but Daniel Radcliffe is the badass, and he does all the fight sequences, and he's the one who's like super badass, and yeah, and yeah,
that's funny.
because he's like I
I
think he's
mean, the
our
one the
height.
one way
He's
that
not
you
very
could
tall.
the one way that you could easily do that and get away with it is you could make it a body swap thing, where it's Daniel Radcliffe is playing The Rock, and that's
I
why he
mean,
said
yeah,
like really good.
I don't know. No, I think I kind of just want it where there's no body swap. Daniel Radcliffe just plays a character who's a badass, and The Rock is just a regular guy.
Um, but No, yeah. Overall, it's a very fun movie, very enjoyable. Definitely not an actual biopic. Weird Al Yankovic did not die in
Yeah,
1985.
Jordan.
He
No,
is
he did. I did you not know? He died in 1985.
oh oh.
Has no one
Well, then I guess he was replaced by a
has
robot.
no one has no one told you? The guy
Um.
who
Also, the part in it. I'm going to interrupt your bit here. The part in it where he makes eat it, and he's like, I made it eat it first, and then weird. Then Michael Jackson in that universe parodies
yeah
him
yeah
with "Beat It," and he's like, no, every idiot is going to think that I parodied him, and he
yeah
goes off on this rant. Oh, it's so
no,
funny.
Jordan, the guy who plays Weird Al now, he's an actor. He's played Weird Al for like 20 years. You know how like Weird Al changed his appearance? That's why. That's when he became the new guy.
It all makes sense now.
Exactly, exactly. So it's just I don't know what the fuck is happening with Discord. It's like you say something and I can't tell if like the and you're like talking very animatedly and I don't know if I'm like cutting you off and then I go to look and you're not talking, like there's no audio and it's like and I don't know how to fix it live on the air other than to just deal with it, but it's very distracting. This is just gonna be a fun thing for the Spotify listeners who are gonna be like, why does he keep referencing this? Because visually for me, and I don't know if if the capture is capturing that. But according to Jordan, it looks fine on the stream, but
I mean,
for me
It's
it's
hard.
distracting.
It's hard to tell exactly because I don't have the sound on and I'm just looking at visuals. And so, from my perspective, it just looks like we're talking like usual, but it could be delayed. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's really weird. Maybe if I turn off my
But I think I'm pretty confident it's just you. Oh, I've lost you.
that's good. I turned off my camera. Shit, turned off camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just really laggy. I don't know why it's so laggy.
I don't know. You're just a black screen for me, though. But that's fine. I can hear you. That's all I need.
Yeah, sorry, sorry people. It's just really distracting. Okay, hold on. Don't talk for like 1 second. Okay, okay. It's my next rapid fire. We're gonna try this.
Yeah, that's the end of mine.
Um, I've got two. Um, I've got Walk the Line and Apollo 13. We'll just do both of them at the same time. Walk the Line's pretty good. I quite like that movie. A lot of good music. If you like Johnny Cash, um, Walking Phoenix is Johnny Cash's. He's great, and that's um, yeah, it's exactly what you've described. It's a by the numbers, disapproving father gets into a drug habit, meets a girl, divorces a girl. But it's funny because we're gonna talk about Chaplin and in Walk the Line, he like marries one girl and it's kind of the wrong girl, and then he meets the second girl and then they stay together forever. And the movie portrays it as like such a travesty. And then Chaplin comes along and is like, Charlie Chaplin married like 5 women and none of them really seem to give a shit about that. It's very strange. And then Apollo 13. The only thing I really have to say about that is it's a good movie, great movie. I enjoy Apollo 13. Um, but it's very funny how that movie's just like guys standing in rooms saying saying sciencey jargon. That's all it
Oh yeah.
is. It's just like saying a bunch of like the O2-56 went out. Oh yeah, well if we crank the auxiliary thruster shaft and it's just like none of it really makes any sense except for the people who are saying it. And you're like, yeah, this is cool. And you're like it's a really tense movie even though you know that they all survive, but it still manages to be really tense. It's Ron Howard and he loves his shit schmaltzy and like inspirational, and it's Tom Hanks. It's one of those movies where we're like, oh hey, that guy's in it. Oh hey,
Oh yeah.
that guy's in it. That happened a lot in Boogie Nights, where it was like, oh hey, it's a young that guy. Um, that's it. That's all I got. That's my last two rapid fires. So that was rapid fire. Jordan had way less to rapid fire than I did. I had way more to rapid fire. Um,
Yeah, it was it was these a lot. One of my movies took my entire night. What can I say? It was a long movie.
yeah, I know. I really wanted to watch Malcolm X. I just couldn't. I couldn't do 3.5 hours. I just couldn't do it. Um, But
Weird. I still don't have you visually. I have a spinning blue circle, but I know it shows up on the stream because it's showing up on the stream. It's very weird.
weird, weird. I don't know what is with Discord today. Oh well. Live
As long as I can
television.
hear you.
As
As long
long
as I
as
can hear you, that's all that matters.
can you just do me a favor and just turn up the just sorry everyone, you're gonna hear a repeat.
I'm spinning blue circle. And I know it shows up on the stream because it's showing up on the stream. It's very weird.
Weird. Weird. I don't know what is with Discord today. Oh well. Yeah, that's sorry guys, live television. So with that we'll move into proper book reports. Jordan, what is the first one you had seen?
First one that I've
Jordan goes
seen.
first as per tradition. Sorry, I'm not doing my segments of my show properly. As per the tradition, Jordan, you may go first.
My first one is Bohemian Rhapsody. I pretty like we've already discussed standard, the exact thing that Weird Al is making fun of by the
Yeah.
numbers.
We saw that one in
Um,
theaters, didn't we?
we did, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's good. I
My
mean,
my
it's
mom loved that movie, and she really insisted we watch it. And I remember going to it and being like, "You could pretty much play biopic bingo." Like it's like
yeah,
everything you expect to see out of a biopic. Boom, there she be.
exactly. Um, it's for someone who doesn't know anything about him, it's informative.
Yeah,
You can learn quite a lot. Rami Malek as Mercury, I mean, he does, as far as I can tell, pretty spot on.
yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
all right. It's not bad. That was the teeth. I had
um,
to nail the teeth.
y yeah, the teeth are the hard thing, but I mean, I like the music, so for me, it's hard not to enjoy it just because I like hearing the music.
Did you end up watching? You didn't end up watching Rocket Man, right?
No, I didn't.
I think Bohemian Rhapsody is better than Rocket Man because Rocket Man is more of a musical and less of a biopic, whereas this is more of a biopic and less of a musical. Although there is the one thing that makes me groan. There is a really groan worthy line where they have Mike Myers as like a record producer, and he's like,
Oh yeah,
"Believe you me, no one will sit in a car and bang their heads to Bohemian Rhapsody." And then he looks right into the camera and winks.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like,
There's there's a few
I
moments
know
why that I like
they
that.
didn't need that. It didn't need that. We get it. We
Um,
get it.
here's an interesting thing that I didn't know. Uh, Apparently, originally Baron Cohen was set to play
Yeah, and
Mercury.
it was gonna be way more R-rated. It was gonna be way more about his like love life, and it was gonna be way more sensationalized. And Queen was like, nope, and they shut him down. Pretty much.
I didn't know about all that, but that's
Yeah,
interesting to know.
yeah.
But yeah, no. So good movie about based on a real thing.
My favorite part of that
Uh,
movie is and the one thing I should say I remember the
and
most about it is when they're doing the Queen Live Aid.
the
Um,
Live Aid performance.
yeah,
It wasn't specifically a Queen event, but they performed there. Yeah.
yeah. Um, that's a really iconic. I've actually seen that concert footage, and it's I think the movie pretty. I think they do it for like 17 for a long time in the movie, and it's like shot for
It's
shot identical. It's incredible,
yeah,
and it's one of those like.
it's from
Am I impressed because it's identically recreated, or is it impressive because it's a good movie? And like I didn't think it was an all right movie.
um what the one big thing that I found myself thinking as I was watching the Rite Aid section and all those people and everything was, man, that looks like such a fire hazard.
Right, right.
Like all of those people, if there's any sort of emergency, 70% of that audience isn't making it
Yeah, no,
out.
they're getting trampled to death. They're not. They're not.
Yeah,
That would happen like back before they had the concept of like security and making sure crowds like that were secure. Like that, I think that happened at like a Beatles concert once, where like some girl got trampled. Like that
I
was
could
a
believe it.
very real thing that used to happen because people are insane somehow. So, anything else to
But
say about Bohemian Rhapsody, Jordan?
not really. It's pretty by the numbers.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
it's
It's
a
fine.
basic bitch of a basic bitch of a whatchamacallit
Of
of a
a
biopic.
biopic.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah,
So that's my first one.
that's the first one. What's your next one?
Lincoln.
Ah, that's such
It's
a good movie.
It's a really, really good movie. And it's so what's funny about it, and I remember this the first time that I watched it, where as they're going to, I mean, I assume people know what Lincoln is about, freeing the slaves.
It's about
That's the
Abraham.
abridged
It's
version.
about Abraham Lincoln. That's all you need to know. Directed by
And
Steven Spielberg.
the
Kevin.
scene where they're the scene near the end where they're like when it comes down to the vote and they're going through and it's nay, yay, yay, nay, nay, yay. And it's like I'm sitting there watching it, and even this time watching it, I'm like, there's this tension that I like. It's weird because I know this is based on a real event,
Yeah.
but you have this separation between the movie and the reality of it. And it's like I'm sitting on the edge of my seat because I'm like, is it gonna pass? I know that it did.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Obviously.
it's
Yeah.
history. It's
Yeah.
history. I know it's gonna
But that's
pass. I
that's
know that.
that's the mark of a good movie, though, a good biopic. Where yeah, it's like why my big criticism of prequels, where I'm like, there's no tension. But a good movie will take an event that you know is gonna happen and or that you know happened, and you feel the tension about it, even though like we're gonna talk about that with one of mine, where it's like, yeah, I know this turned out okay, but like, in the movie, I don't know that.
Yeah, like there's this weird disassociation between yeah, this is reality and this isn't reality,
Yeah,
and it's a fascinating thing.
like
And
and it's
yeah,
so weird
another
to
another another one of my picks also kind of has that
it's so
that not issue, but
weird to
uh,
watch a thing that's like essentially a snapshot of a moment in time and to be like, yeah, this happened to these people, but they're it's ethereal almost. Like you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah,
like we're so far removed from it that it feels like it didn't happen and that is fiction.
yeah.
But no, this
Oh,
happened. This
very
was a
much
thing.
happened. Yeah, yeah, very much happened. And then I just remember the one thing about that movie I remember was coming out of it being like, don't even bother having the Oscars. Just like drop off the Oscar at Daniel Day Lewis's house. He's gonna win it. There's no point wasting all of our time. And he did. He
Oh,
won it.
oh yeah. I
And
mean, in that movie, he's Lincoln.
he becomes
Like
Lincoln.
he's Lincoln.
Yeah, he becomes
There's
Lincoln.
no two ways about it. He is Lincoln.
That movie made me like realize like wow, Lincoln was like a big guy, and I don't just mean like in that he was a larger than life figure, which he clearly was. I mean physically, he was a very big guy. And then you look it up, it's like yeah, he was almost like 6.5 feet. He was like tall, very tall man.
Yeah,
Like he just
yeah,
literally was
yeah.
a big guy.
He was a
Um,
very big person.
yeah. That's why I love being like, today we have to do the thing today, not here, not now,
Not
then
now, like
you, me,
now, now, now.
that guy over there, and us, and we, and them.
Oh, so good.
It is good. It is good. Yeah, definitely deserves those Oscars, those accolades. And yeah, that's Steven Spielberg, right? Is it Spielberg?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Let's just see.
pretty sure that's Spielberg.
Distributed, it's produced by Steven Spielberg and it's directed by
Directed.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. That was good. And it didn't really. I liked it because it didn't really like pick it, not pick a side, but it seemed to want to present the events objectively, at least as far as I could tell. But to be fair, it's been a while since I've
Apparently,
seen it.
apparently the movie's based on a book called Team of Rivals.
Yes, it is. A lot of these movies are based on books. Um,
Hmm.
a lot of them are based on books or autobiographies or. But anyway,
Really?
um,
It surprises me that this one wasn't on Disney Plus then. This was distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures and 20th Century Fox.
huh, that surprises me. It must be a licensing thing.
Yeah, interesting.
Um,
It had a budget of 65 million and the box office was 275.3 million.
oh wow,
Wow.
wow. Yeah, I made a ton. It was very, very
It made
popular.
a lot of money.
Yeah,
Considering
yeah.
the budget it had, that's not bad.
No, not bad at all. No. Was there anything else you had to say about Lincoln?
I'm I mean, other than it did very well, and apparently it's been cited as one of the best films of Spielberg's career
Yeah, yeah.
and one of the greatest films of the 21st century,
Ah man,
which
it's hard for me to say stuff like that because I haven't seen it.
yeah.
I haven't seen. I Steven Spielberg. I don't know that I. It's a good movie, but like that man had so much fire, like influence in cinema that it's hard for, like, I mean, he's responsible for the modern blockbuster. So like, partially responsible anyway. So it's hard to
Oh,
be like, like I think Jaws and Raiders and Close Encounters of the First Kind. I think they're all way more influential films of his than Lincoln. I don't think Lincoln. I think Lincoln is good and it's a good demonstration of skill. I just don't. When you're talking about greatest films of his career, you have to think about what they like their overall history. Yeah, what it mean, what they mean to their value
So,
artistically.
um, I don't disagree, but so some interesting casting information about this movie, which I'm going to touch on very quickly. Apparently, Spielberg first approached Daniel Day-Lewis about the project in 2003. Day-Lewis turned down the part at the time, believing the idea of himself playing Lincoln preposterous. And then Liam Neeson was cast as Lincoln
Interesting.
in January of 2005.
Hmm.
In preparation, he studied Lincoln extensively, but in July 2010, he left the project, saying that he was too old. He was 58 at the time, and Lincoln during the period was 55 and 56.
I mean, that's close enough.
Uh, and then Neeson initially, after dropping the role, Neeson incidentally suggested Day-Lewis to Spielberg, which is funny. And then Neeson and Leonardo DiCaprio both spoke to Day-Lewis to convince him to accept the role.
Hmm.
And then in 2010, it was announced that Day-Lewis would replace Neeson in the role.
Interesting. And this came out in what? 2011, 2012?
This came out in 2012.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It's right smack dab in the working at the movie theater time.
So there's a little bit of
I'd say
interesting,
that might have been towards the end of it.
tidbits of information about the movie Lincoln, and that's my second pick.
And that's the ones you had seen.
That's the one that I have seen.
And what hadn't you seen?
Now, what I haven't seen, the first one that I haven't seen, I should say, is Catch Me If You Can,
That's a good movie
which
too.
is a 2002 movie. So that was like, I graduated high school in 2009. So I think that would have been like me just getting into high school. That's way
But
before I was like watching these kind of movies.
yeah, the
But
one thing I remember about it the most, I got really into Leonardo DiCaprio movies after Inception. I got really into his movies and I watched a bunch of them. And I remember putting this one on and thinking it'd be like a quick hour and a half romp. And it's like almost 3 hour long movie. And it's like, oh my god, it just keeps going. It's another
it's
Spielberg movie.
it's 141 minutes.
Yeah, that's almost 3 hours.
It's two-ish hours, two something.
2:30, I think it ends up being 2:30. It's a long movie.
Certainly didn't feel that long.
I know because it's a Spielberg movie and he loves his pacing tight. But there's a point in it I remember the
Um,
first time being like, oh my god, it's still on. There's like an hour
but
left.
no,
How's
yeah,
that possible?
it is another Spielberg, which is yeah, that's funny to me. But yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio and Amy Adams in it are both 28. I didn't at first recognize it to be Amy Adams.
Yeah, it's a young. He's a young.
Um,
He's not like super young. Like he's not
well,
Titanic. He's not
the
Titanic.
character
Yeah.
he's playing is funny enough is supposed to be 17.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Um, but he's 28,
Yeah, he looked young
which
there. He's a young. He's like
he looks
he
young.
looks young. Yeah, that's post Titanic, I
Um,
believe. I believe that's post Titanic.
it's also got Tom Hanks,
Yes, it does.
who does a fantastic job. It's got Martin Sheen in it, which was weird for me. Christopher Walken, which is always a good time.
Loving
Um,
Christopher Walken. Jordan,
and
Jordan,
so for those who
Jordan,
don't know what the movie,
Jordan.
yes,
What's the opposite of Christopher Walken?
Christopher Runnin.
No, it's Christopher Reeves, Jordan.
Oh, oh, that feels offensive.
He was. I will. Sure. Sorry, tell me.
Yeah,
Go on. Go on. You were saying that became awkward.
I've I, I've lost it. Oh, movie was about for those who don't know, is about a man who scammed the American air flight. Which one was it? I don't remember which one it was. Trans Am, I think it was.
He was
And
quite a famous con
he
artist.
yeah, he was a big con artist. And so it was very interesting watching this movie knowing nothing about him, because that allowed me to just watch it as if it were a movie.
Yeah.
But like knowing in the back of your mind, it's another example of knowing in the back of your mind that this has some variation of this happened
Yeah. Well,
is mind-boggling
that's
because the
where
character in the movie makes it look so easy to scam all of this
I
and
mean,
do
it
all of
also
this
was like
in
what, the 1960s, 1970s.
70s, I
Yeah, yeah,
believe.
exactly. Way, I mean, that's gonna come up in my movies too, but way more trusting back in the day. Way more trusting. You can always tell when a movie takes
Yeah.
place pre 9/11.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah, 1969 is when it first starts.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I or
Um,
no, not so it takes place 6 years before that. So 1963 is when most of it takes
yeah. So
place.
yeah, yeah. A lot easier to scam people back in the 60s. People
Oh yeah.
more trusting back in the day. More easy to take advantage of.
Technology was also far less
Yeah,
capable of catching this shit.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of times that happens to me in movies where I'm like, oh yeah, this is before the time of like DNA and like camera phones and like having a camera on you at all times and like getting away with shit was
Um
so much easier back then.
but no, that's my first haven't seen and a good movie. I'd recommend it for those who haven't
Yeah,
seen it.
it's very fun.
Um it's much as opposed to Lincoln, which was 3 hours, and was fairly heavy subjects. It was a breath of fresh air.
Lincoln's three
Also,
hours.
as did I say Lincoln? I meant the other one that I haven't seen. Lincoln was two and a bit, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
No,
think
no, might have been three. I don't know. It was
on average
long.
three and a half. That's an endeavor.
It's yeah. Oppenheimer is long, which that leads me segues nicely into my second haven't seen, which is Oppenheimer. Um, which is a good movie. It's
Yeah,
2023. Most of the most recent of the ones that I watched. And it is long.
it's long.
Uh,
It's
if
very
if
long.
if there's one thing that I can say about it, 180 minutes. Uh, long.
Long, but never
Um,
boring.
it
Never boring.
not boring, but I would say that and this is just my opinion that some of the stuff on his early life, I feel like they could have cut because most people are watching this to learn about the Manhattan Project and the stuff that involved and the fallout of that, and
Yeah, that's why I'm watching it.
yeah, so it's just some of the early stuff. I guess they felt they had to have it in there to show off his connections to the
I
communist
think
and
so.
all that, so it could pay off later. But I don't know. I feel like you
I,
could have
I like a little
montaged through
more of
some of
the him
that.
being remorseful about committing a genocide, and a little less of an ego trip about his origin story.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he's a conflicting person.
I
Who
mean,
did?
his law. He had a logic, and when he spells it out in the movie, you're like, oh, I
I can
see where
see,
he's coming
I can
from.
see the idea. Yeah, they had the unfortunate. I'm gonna tiptoe through this subject
Yeah,
here,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but he had the unfortunate thing of being born in the time period that he was born in with the people of a certain country that existed back then.
Yeah.
And so had him and his team not done and taken the steps that he took, the world we live in could be a very different
Well, the,
place.
the point the point was a lot of people have said this as a justification for what happened, but they all say that the Japanese were never going to stop. That they needed that to stop basically.
I am not going to comment on that,
But
but
it sure is
we'll
interesting
never
how
know.
once you do a horrid thing, you realize that it's always like of actions like this are always like hindsight. Like in hindsight, there were probably better actions one could have taken, and in hindsight, and it's like I mean we weren't gonna. I'm gonna do this very delicately, but the point he makes in it was someone was going to make this no matter what. At least it's at least if one group who's responsible makes it, then the bad people quote unquote won't make it. But then it becomes the argument of who is the responsible one.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is, as the event happened, the genie was let out of the bottle, and yeah, at that point, once they know that it's possible, someone's going to do it. So at that point, everyone has to do it.
Yeah. You need someone to
Like
do
if
it once
everybody,
so you know never to do it again.
yeah, and all like just the Americans had to have the technology so that the other people knew that they had the technology, just like the other people had to have the technology so that America knew that. So once everyone has it, no one uses it.
Yeah, and well, his thing was his big thing was, well, early on before it happens, was, yeah, you need to do it in order for this to be effective. You need to do it. You need to do it once so that no one ever does it again. And look, he was right, and it's worked.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Well, I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I've had a lot of like really crazy people who pop up in my shit who basically made the point that you can't rule over a kingdom of dust. So most people, it's not going to be as like apocalyptic. If it were to happen, it wouldn't be quite as
That's
apocalyptic as
that's why it's called mutually assured destruction.
people have sort of indicated.
So moving away from the dourness of it, um, it it is so you want to talk about movies that did well financially. This movie had a budget of 100 million. Its box office was 960.2 million.
That's because of Barbie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Barbenheimer was definitely a
That
big
was
factor in that.
because of Barbie.
Um,
This thing would have done
so
moderately okay.
one thing that I want to say about so as a person who has just watched a lot of Robin Williams movie, it was distracting to me that the guy who played Oppenheimer, to me, to my ear, sounded like Robin Williams.
Actually, Killian Murphy. Killian Murphy plays Oppenheimer.
He's in this. He sounded like Robin Williams, and as soon as my brain heard that, it was so distracting. Also, it was very strange for me after having watched um, Bohemian Rhapsody to tie this back into my first thing to see Rami Malek like in this not as Freddie Mercury was incredibly weird.
My the weird one for me is always going to be Josh Peck. It's like, Josh Peck, what are
Yeah, him
you
too.
doing
Yeah,
here? Why are you
one of
in this
these things
movie?
just ain't like the other.
My favorite part of that movie was the PR, the PR for it, where Robert Downey Jr. has been out going, I make real movies now. I'm an actual
Is
actor. Respect me, please, because apparently, I guess it's just an unspoken secret in Hollywood that if you make superhero movies, everyone hates you.
yeah. Um, but I don't know if there's much else that I have to say about this. It was long, but a good movie. Uh, you know, considering its topic matter.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
but it's certainly easier to watch and ingest if you remove yourself from the fact that it's biographical.
Yeah, right.
Uh, if you just pretend that this is a fictional world, if you're like this is the world of Superman and this is Lex Luthor, as an example, like if you're
Yeah.
watching it as if it's fictional, it's much less upsetting.
And the thing about it, that one of the more upsetting elements of it for me was how disconnected it is, and I guess maybe that's supposed to be metaphorical for how disconnected he was from it. But it feels so disconnected
Oh,
from the actual event itself, where it just someone just shows up and it's like it happened off screen.
yeah. One thing that I did like about it that I wanted to mention, you reminded me, is I like how it uses so like there are parts where it's in black and white, and I had to look this up because I was like, why does it keep switching between black and white and color? Like
Yeah,
why does that keep happening? That was weird to me, and so I looked it up, and from what I saw online, because I'm not going to take credit for thinking of this on my own, I'm not that smart, was that the black and white moments are meant to represent those are factual, without emotion, without feeling, without anything. Those are just black and white. That's what happened. Those are the events as they played out. Oppenheimer's perspective removed from it.
hmm.
Whereas the moments where it's in color are supposed to represent that's his view of things. That's his perspective. And so there's a scene where at a certain point in the movie where you have the black and white version that happens with Robert Downey Jr.'s character doing the thing that actually happened, and then you see what is essentially the same scene again, but now it's in color and it's from Oppenheimer's point, and he's a lot, whereas in the black and white scene he's a lot harsher and direct, and like Robert Downey Jr.'s character is a lot harsher and direct and like
Hmm.
very much not on Oppenheimer's side. When you see that same similar scene again, which is slightly different, but it's in color and it's from Oppenheimer's point of view, and he's a lot softer and he's nice. He's like, "We're gonna get this all sorted out, friend. Like you just have to go and appeal for this again, buddy." Like and it's like he's way more from his point of view, like he was acting like a friend. It's
Interesting.
it's a
I
fascinating
I thought that it
technique.
was the black and white was the present day, and then the color was in the past. I thought that was the.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that's also part of it,
Hmm.
but from what I understand, the those are the fixed moments, like the black and white. That's what
Hmm.
happened. It's
Interesting.
removed from his
I
perspective.
had not
That's
thought
what
of
I.
that.
That's what I read.
The other thing that's impressive about that movie is that when they're doing the test explosion, that is 100% practical. There's no CGI involved in
Really?
that explosion. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, yeah,
That would have been intense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It absolutely would have been. Yeah, yeah.
That
Um,
would that would explain why they were probably like, yeah, after the explosion, just give your actual reactions.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah. Just
Because I don't know about you, but any guy that I know, even some like even girls, but like anyone who sees a big explosion like that, your first reaction is like, "What?" Like, "Oh my God." I don't care what happened, what the explosion, like
yeah. You
that's
feel
most
it.
people's.
You
Yeah.
feel it. You feel an
There's
explosion of that level. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So
So
it's
that's interesting to know.
so that is that it? Your.
Yeah, that's about all I have to say about that
So
tragedy.
it's interesting, man.
Not the movie.
You took a more biographical approach to your decisions, to your picks, less about events and more about individual people. And I'm while I definitely went in a similar direction with mine. Mine was more about events than it was actual. I wanted to like to be about like institutions rather than individual people. So my first one that I had seen is I picked the movie Tag, which is just an incredible story. The movie. We'll talk about the movie first, and then we'll talk about the actual story because that's what we're gonna kind of do with mine. We're gonna talk about the actual people involved up into the last one, which we'll get into the last one. But to start off, we're gonna start with Tag, which if you haven't seen Tag, Tag is it's Ed Helms, it's Jeremy Renner, Hannibal Buress, John Hamm, and I don't remember who the women are. And they're all childhood friends, and they've been playing tag, a game of tag, ever since they were kids. And that when they're adults, they blot out a certain month of the year, June,
Oh
and they
yeah.
play
Yeah,
tag, and they
yeah.
chase each other across the country. They like pop up everywhere, and
I remember this one.
yes, the plot of, and the thing is now, Jeremy Renner, um, is planning to retire at the end of this season after he gets married. This is going to be his final season, and he's never been tagged. So Ed Helms gathers all the guys to try to tag him one last time, and it's a very fun movie. It's very funny. Ed Helms is great in it. Jeremy Renner is doing stuff physically, like he's super badass, and he's doing stuff that's somehow physically more impressive than anything he ever did in a Marvel movie. Like there's this one scene where he fights off Ed Helms on like a walker, and it's like, yeah, Hawkeye never did anything this cool. Like, why didn't you do a single thing this cool in the Avengers movies? It's so weird. Um, and yeah, it's super fun. I'm gonna give away a twist in it. So spoilers for Tag. Go watch it. It's fun. But it's the climax of it is you find out that it's not Jeremy Renner who plans to retire. It's actually Ed Helms is sick and he's got a tumor and he's dying. And this is kind of his last.
Whoa.
It's yeah, I know it comes out of nowhere. It's a really like sad climax, and yeah, he convinces Jeremy Renner to let him tag him, and they invite the women in because there's a rule because they started when they were kids, no girls allowed. And the end of the movies, they're all just having fun playing tag, and it shows clips of the actual guys, and the actual story is like insane. Like they show some clips like the bit where he dresses as the old lady. Like one of the guys actually did that in real life. In the movie, it's how many guys did I say? I said John Hamm, Hannibal Buress.
Wasn't it like four, I think you
One,
said?
two, three, four, five, six. I think it's
Five?
six. Six
Six.
guys.
Okay.
There's six guys in the movie. In real life, there's 10 guys, and they had an actual like contract that they signed of the rules, and like they would like they chased each other. It was like the month of February, and they were there for like he said he showed up at his dad's funeral. He like he walked up behind him at his dad's funeral. He said, "I'm so sorry, bud, but you're it," and then he walked away. He said he showed up. One of them showed up when the birth of his first child. Congratulations, buddy, you're it. Um, there's clips of them. The one of him as an old lady. He shows up as an old lady and tags him, disguises himself. Like they would like put on disguises, and it was like one of those like the real life story is like 1,000 times more outrageous than the shenanigans and hijinks they got in. And that was the one that I went, I need to prove to myself that not every one of these is going to be super heavy and like an eternity long, and like these can be a fun story that they kind of just adapted. And you can go read it. There's the New York Times article is out there that the movie's based on, and it's really interesting, and the story's way better than the movie almost, and the movie's pretty good. It's pretty fun. And then the next one, which you also watched, which was going to be in your rapid fire, my next one I watched was The Founder, because I don't like saying what I do in my day job on the internet because I don't want to chance anyone finding me there. But for just to keep things vague, I have a friend. I have a friend who works at McDonald's. And if you work at McDonald's, you need to watch The Founder, because The Founder
Yeah.
is
It's a fascinating one.
it's an incredible movie. And it's one of those stories where like the movies where the real life story once again is so much wilder than what happens in the movie. And for the benefit of people who haven't seen The Founder, you should absolutely watch The Founder. It's Michael Keaton, and he plays Ray Kroc, the guy who founded. You can't see me on Spotify. I'm doing air quotes. Founded McDonald's. The actual story is he was a traveling milkshake salesman. He sold milkshake machines, and he discovered the McDonald's brothers, who had a different version or idea of the drive-in. For those of you who are under a certain age, a drive-in is where you would go and you would take your car and you would drive up to the restaurant, and waitresses on roller skates, sometimes called bellhops, would bring like a tray to your car, and they'd put the tray in your car and you'd eat from your car. And as the movie explains, it was generally terrible. Like bad ill people would hang out at them, and like the mechanics of it, you get your order wrong, and it was just like a bad time. So the McDonald's brothers revolutionized it by creating what they called the speedy quick system, which is more or less the concept of what you see fast food to be today. A prep table, expediting, doing things in a certain order in a certain way. And Ray Kroc shows up and is like, you should franchise. All the money is in franchising. And
You should let me screw you out of
you
billions.
should let me help you franchise, which he does. And he discovers that the money really isn't in they say, and this is one of the crazier things, there's so much of what the McDonald's worries of fast food, of franchising, turn out to be so fucking true. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy. Sorry?
I didn't say anything. I
Oh,
sniffled.
oh, sorry, I saw your lips move. This is where the delay on my end fucking sucks. Sorry. What they said about quality control turned out to be so fucking true. Because yeah, as somebody who knows people who works in that industry, the more you diversify, the more restaurants you have, the less capability and ability you have to monitor that, and the quality drops. It's happened at every fast
Absolutely.
food restaurant I've ever worked at.
Absolutely.
Um, and it's just wild how like how every concern they have it happens. It happens, and it's absolutely crazy. And that movie's so wild because yeah, so you think the entire movie you're like, oh, he's the good guy, right? He's the good guy, and they're being difficult, and they're impeding process, and they don't see the future, and they don't know what's happening. They don't know what's good for them. And so he eventually discovers that he takes a certain percentage of their gross, of their profit, and part of it goes to him, and he's making like no money. He's running in the poor, and a business guy teaches him that if he buys the land on the cheap, and rents to people, and essentially becomes a landlord, he can make so much more money up front, and he can essentially strong arm the McDonald's brothers, who at this point the entire time
He
have fought
grabs
him.
them by the balls.
Yeah, basically, every time he wants to change something or do something, they won't let him, and he wants to get around them. So in order to do that, yeah, he creates this real estate company and essentially amasses enough power and ability where he now has enough money that he just buys them out. And so he buys them out and offers them a deal where like it's like worth basically after taxes and whatever, it's $1 million each.
They get a
For
million dollars each, and it's supposed to be that they're going to get 1% royalties.
Yeah, well, they put initially that they want 1% of the annual royalty, but he refuses, um, offering
He
it
gives them
instead.
some bullshit
Yeah,
excuse.
offering it instead as a handshake deal, which absolutely happened in real life. And part of the condition was that they kept the original restaurant, but they were not allowed to use the name of McDonald's. They were only allowed to call it the Big M. And he opened up a McDonald's down the street in the most petty move anyone could ever do. Opened a McDonald's down the street and ran them out of business within a year. And that is at that point, before they find out before that, but it's at that point you realize, oh shit, he's the bad guy. He's been the bad
Mm.
guy the whole movie, and the movie does this really masterful job of that moment where he meets with the business guy, and the movie kind of wants you to be like, oh, he's being influenced by this business guy, and it's the business guy has gotten his ear and has convinced him to do this thing, and he's not actually a bad guy, and then he has that whole monologue with Dick, where as an aside, there's way too many weird dick jokes where they call
Yeah.
like dick magic, or it's very strange. There's a lot of dick jokes in this movie. Um, but he has that whole speech where he's basically like, no, I was gonna fuck you the whole time. Like I know it seemed like I was on your side for a bit of this, but no, I had every intention of fucking you over this whole time. I was coming for your throat. I was here to destroy you. Like
As soon as I saw the name, I knew I had to make it mine.
yeah, all the money and all the power and everything is in IP. That's where the money is. That's where it's in the brand. It's in people recognizing the brand. That's where the power and money was. I knew that, and you guys were too fucking stupid and naive to know that. You thought the money was in the system? No, anyone can knock off the system. It's in the name, and it's just a clean, round name. And it's like, oh shit, yeah, he's the bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's not a good guy. Like, and he makes the point like, hey,
Yeah.
you can't be a good guy to succeed at that kind of stuff.
I mean, that's sort of like watching social media, then watching this. Yeah, that was sort of the overarching thing that I kind of found is that in order to be good at business, you have to be ruthless.
Yeah, you can't be good, you can't be nice, you can't be cool. I
You
mean,
have to
to
be
me, that's not
evil.
even like the coldest moment. The coldest moment is when he cuts off the wife. That was when he divorces the wife and leaves her with nothing, and it's like that was
No, no,
cold.
no. He leaves her with the house, with the cars, with everything except for the business. The
Yeah,
only
but
thing he won't let her
the
be a
only
part of is the
reason he was
business.
successful at the business was because of her. She was the one who encouraged him. He's the reason why all those rich
Oh,
guys
I'm not.
initially
I'm not.
invested in him.
I'm not.
She
I'm not
helped him.
defending. I'm not defending him. I'm simply just giving that clarifying point.
Like
The only thing that he wouldn't give her was anything to do with
to
the
me that was
business.
easily the coldest moment in that movie. Where like yeah, what he did to the McDonald's brothers was cold, but what he did to her was so much colder. Um,
Well, the thing that I found very funny because after I watched it, I went to Google and I was like, Croc or whatever. Roy
yeah, I was
Croc
reading
was a
about him.
villain.
Yeah,
And there's an entire Reddit where people are discussing about specifically about the movie version or whatever, and one of the funniest things that I saw was a comment where he was like he wasn't evil, he was just a good businessman, and the McDonald's brothers still walked away with 1 million each, and it's like that doesn't mean that the man wasn't
You
evil.
know how much money he screwed them out of? And you know the whole reason
Billions.
why he. Well, okay, okay. Allegedly, the reason why he reneged on the handshake deal was because he was pissed that they kept the original restaurant. He wanted the original restaurant and they kept it. They snuck it in as part of the deal and he didn't know that. He found it out last minute, and that's why he did that move. That because him opening the restaurant down the street, he did that. He did that in real life. That really happened. And what's crazy is McDonald's like he did that. He took credit for it all. He took credit for the system. He basically claimed for decades that he created McDonald's, and everyone believed him because he was the loudest and he was the one who was out there doing like selling the brand, being the face of the company, and they were back home just taking money. And they weren't out there. They weren't out there selling their own brand. And so for years they would not acknowledge them. I think I saw it was only as recently as 2005 that they would officially acknowledge the McDonald's brothers. Like they would not
Huh.
acknowledge them until that point. Like that's how much. And it's funny
Yeah.
because my friend who works at McDonald's, um, when he was there for a training exercise, they go through the origins of McDonald's, and they were like, Ray Kroc created McDonald's, and my friend went, actually it was, and he went through the story. He actually screwed them out of a great deal of money. I didn't say it quite like that, but that it was awkward. They did not like that. They were like, oh yeah, no, but Ray Kroc, he created the restaurant as we know it today, and it's like, yeah, technically he did. Yes, he did do that. The idea of the McDonald's franchise that you go into down the street, he created that. Yes, for good or ill. Um, but yeah, there's one of those like the real story is crazy. You're like while you're watching this movie, you're like, there's no way any of this happened in real life. You're like, no, yeah, it's one of those ones that's shockingly accurate. The ones that are
Yeah.
the more accurate are when they're based off of an autobiography or a book that someone has researched, and I think this one was. And yeah, Michael Keaton, so good in it. If
Oh
you
yeah.
work at a fast food joint or a McDonald's, even if you work at McDonald's, in my opinion, if you work at McDonald's, I've ever worked at McDonald's, this should be mandatory viewing for every person who works at McDonald's because it will blow your mind. Some of the stuff the McDonald's brothers say, and like some of the stuff that Ray Kroc says, and like you'll see like the architecture of what would become a basic McDonald's franchise and their rules and how they work, and it's a mind blowing experience
I agree.
from that
It's
from
also
that.
just a, it's also just a good movie.
It is just a good movie. And yeah, those were the ones I saw that I had seen before, and then for the ones that I have not seen, we have we have we have. Sorry, I got distracted.
Yes.
To start off with, we have Chaplin. Chaplin, which is about the artist, the silent film star Charlie Chaplin. It's played by Robert Downey Jr. He was nominated for an Oscar for it, and it's like one of his first. Like that was at that time where like Robert Downey Jr. wasn't really super popular. That was when he was like a big fuck up,
Okay.
drug addict and whatever.
So pre Iron Man.
Pre Iron Man, yeah. And I don't know who directed, if it was anyone notable. I don't think it was. Oh yes, it's Richard Attenborough, the guy who plays We Spared No Expense. That guy, he directs it.
Okay.
Dan Aykroyd is in it randomly. It was very strange. And yeah, it's about Charlie Chaplin's life, and Robert Downey Jr. is phenomenal as Charlie Chaplin. A lot of Charlie Chaplin generally is. I mean, he's an institution. He is like one of the most prolific film stars in history. Everyone knows who Charlie Chaplin is. You've seen. If you don't know who Charlie Chaplin is, certainly you know who the Tramp is. I mean, you know who the Tramp is.
I mean, I know who Charlie Chaplin is.
The guy, the poor guy he always dresses up as.
One with the Hitler stash and
Yeah,
the
yeah, and the cane and the hat, the bowler hat.
yeah.
That's a
I
character.
mean, even kids like from the 2010s would know it because there's an episode of Wizards of Waverly Place where Justin Russo dresses as that.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone, you know the Tramp. If I showed you a picture of the Tramp, you would know what it was. You wouldn't know what the name of the character is necessarily, but you would know who he was. And
Mm.
yeah, Robert Downey Jr. His physical comedy, Charlie Chaplin's, was incredible. When you remember that these movies are filmed in 1915, 16, 17, 18, 20. There is no CGI. There is no special effects. There's no wire work. There's no hiding wires with green screen. There's no composite. There's none of that. So like in one of his movies I watched for my hit series Top 100, there's a bit where he dives into like ankle deep water. Like he dives into like knee. It's
Oh,
like
that would hurt.
yeah. Whereas like he dives and he gets up and he gets up and he does an ow thing. It's like yeah, he would have had to do that. And like Robert Downey Jr. is doing like backflips and like pratfalls and like all sorts of physical comedy. It looked like the in terms of recreating Charlie Chaplin films, it's remarkable. Like as someone who has actually seen these movies, it's like that's the movie, but it's Robert Downey Jr. instead like he like blends into this character so seamlessly and effortlessly. And now it's the time where we talk about how, despite the fact that Charlie Chaplin is a very, very talented man, he influenced cinema for decades. Everyone knows who he is. Bad bloke. bad, bad bloke. He had like 5 wives. He cheated on all of them. He married so young that everyone in the movie comments on how he married young. And like, remember, like this movie takes place in the 1950s when people and dating young were flexible. And even by their standards, and like I'm talking contemporarily, like at the time, they were like he dates young. So if in the 1920s they're like too young, too young, too young, too young, and there's a lot of talk of like there's a whole subplot of like the FBI agents who are like trying to basically get him deported, because like they don't like him because he's like anti. They think he's a communist. I think is what it is, or something. Yeah, I think they think he's a communist. And they keep trying to get
Sounds
him.
right.
They keep trying to get him deported back to England. And they can't seem to find a way to get him deported. And he keeps marrying like girls who are like 14. I don't remember what the youngest girl he marries is, but like he marries
Too
them
young.
too young, too young. He goes to Mexico and he marries them in Mexico where apparently it's legal, and then he brings them back and doesn't sleep with them. And one of the FBI agents has a line where he's like, "It'd be better if he slept with them." No, it wouldn't.
No,
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 it
it wouldn't.
wouldn't. You weird man. No, bad, bad bloke, bad bloke. But yeah, man, he's a very talented bad bloke. And it's just a well crafted movie, and it's funny, um, watching these movies about past versions of the art form are always interesting because it's sort of like there's this whole debate nowadays of like it popped up again of Billie Eilish. She apparently was like, "Whoa, there's a lot of TikTokers at this award ceremony," and all the TikTokers took that to mean Billie Eilish doesn't like TikTokers, and it's like the TikTokers consistently don't get, and they constantly I see it all the time. Influencers, modern influencers, they bitch about how oh, the new media said this about us, or the new media or old media did this about, and they will never understand that old media will never respect new media. It doesn't matter how hard you try until you usurp them as the present media, they will always not understand you. And what's interesting about this one is there's obviously that period of time during Chaplin's career where he moves from the silent era to talkies, right?
Mm.
And even at the
They,
beginning of his movie, he moves from being on vaudeville to being in film, right? And when he goes to be in the movie, he gets paid $150, which is a lot in 1914 money. Um, and the guy's like, why would you do that? The vaudeville thing is a sure thing. It's paying. It's right now. It's what's happening right now. Film will never catch on, and there's like turn their nose up at it. And then he goes through it and he becomes massively successful in silent film. And then the talkies pop up, and him and his brother, who is the guy who's working with them, um, is basically like, we need to move into talkies. Everyone is doing talkies. Everyone is doing talkies. And Charlie Chaplin, very rightfully so, says, the minute the tramp talks, he's dead. Basically, like that's it. That's it for the character. That's it. That's his final film. Um, and so he's like, no, 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 no. Talkies will never catch on. Talkies will never catch on. And I saw that in another movie. I think it might have been Ed Wood, where they were like the talkies. No, maybe it wasn't Elwood, because they were watching the Jazz Singer, which is the first movie to have spoken dialogue in it. They're like, it's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. And so it's just funny that they're like, oh, YouTube is never gonna happen. It's never gonna replace traditional streaming. Will never replace traditional television. And we're at that point in Chaplin where they're like, talkies will never catch on. And it's like, it's here. It's supplanted. It's replaced television. Television is dead.
Yeah.
And we're at that moment in history of like, television is dead. It needs to evolve. Traditional cable television has gone the way of the silent film now, and we all need to accept that, and we all need to move on. And I think that's very interesting on how the more stuff changes, the more it stays
The
the
more it
same.
stays the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's Chaplin. It was very good. I was surprised by how good it was. I turned it off when I first watched it. I put it on once to watch it, and I turned because I had watched a bunch of Chaplin films and I wanted to learn more about the guy. And initially, it was very bored, and then this time, it was very compelling for some reason. And yeah, I was looking for and a lot of these I'd recommend, but they're not on anything. Um, but yeah, a lot of these were really good in the sense that like they were different. They broke the mold as far as biopics were concerned. But with that, the next one I want to talk about that I watched was Black Klansman, which I showed Jordan. I'm going to start off with the thing I showed Jordan yesterday, which was I played him a bit of the soundtrack from it. And to start off with, the soundtrack, fucking phenomenal. The soundtrack in Black Klansman is so right. I showed you the little bit of it.
Yeah, yeah, you did. You did.
It's badass. It's like it's sick guitar riff. It's really good. It like it's funny how you were talking about I'm gonna skip ahead a bit, but it's funny how you're talking about with Lincoln. You were so sucked in to the climax of that movie that you kind of turned off your brain to the fact that this was real and everything was going to be fine.
Yeah.
Same thing with this one. That music was so intense because throughout the movie, I just showed you the most epic part of it. But throughout the movie, it builds. So it starts off, it's very soft, like it's just like da, 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 and it's really soft in the background. And then as the movie goes on, it gets more intense and it's faster and faster and faster. So then by the time it gets to the climax, it's like super fast and frenetic, and the guitar solo is way faster now. And I'm like, oh my god, is everyone gonna be okay? Even though while I'm watching this movie, for each of these, while I'm watching the movie, I'm reading the real story and I'm learning about the real events and I'm comparing it to the real stuff and it's like I'm like, yeah, I know everything's fine and I know what's different, because for me a great part of watching a movie that's based on a true story is being like, what happened and what didn't, who was real and who's not real. And like as my not scene have gone on, they get a like, the Chaplin one is a bit more real, that's a bit more accurate because that one was based on his autobiography. It's based on his accounts of stuff, so it's from his perspective, a lot of it, but it doesn't shy away from the bad shit. So it's like based on like two books basically. This one is based on this guy's account of stuff, but it adds new characters, it changes events, and it adds stuff for drama because it's a movie. But so I'm like, yeah, I know everything's all right. I know what happened to this guy in real life. I know he's okay because he wrote the book that this is based on.
Right.
But it's still really tense and really like action filled. But basically, Jordan, I didn't tell you what this movie was about last night. Black Klansman is about this gentleman who is a new police officer on the force. It takes place in the 1970s, 1972, I think. Um, and he has joined the police force, as a black man. He's the first black man to join the police force, and he gets himself put on the undercover section, undercover not section, but section for lack of a better word. And he happens to see that the local chapter of the KKK is looking for new members, and he phones them up pretending to be a white guy, essentially super racist white guy, and he works together with his partner, played by Adam Driver, and they essentially infiltrate this local chapter of the KKK. And he winds up incidentally phoning. Do you know who David Duke is, or do I have to explain who David Duke is? I'll be
I don't
happy.
recognize.
Okay,
I don't
good.
recognize the
That
name.
that is that is inconvenient, but it's good that you don't know who David Duke is. I'd be disappointed in you if you did. David Duke is the Grand Wizard of the KKK. Grand Wizard, Grand Wizard
It's
being.
it's it's so upsetting that they're a bad group because a wizard,
I know Grand Wizards makes them sound bad. They're not.
Grand Wizard.
It's
It sounds like it should be awesome, but you know it's not.
There's a stand up once who had a joke where he was basically like, they're nerds. They're nerds naming themselves like Grand Wizard and like um in this movie they don't want people to I'll get to that. But he incidentally winds up phoning them to try and expedite this membership into the KKK, and he winds up striking up a relationship with David Duke, who is the guy in charge. Um, and it's basically him and Adam Driver trying to infiltrate this group of, and it's like during the second resurgence of the KKK, so they're no longer out and open. Now they're very secretive. So when they're out in public, they're like perfectly willing to like say really racist and anti-Semitic shit, but like they don't want, like he calls up and says, I want to join the local chapter of the KKK. And like, you can't call it that. We call it the organization. We want to be part of the organization. And it's like it came out during 2018, so it's sort of just after Charlottesville. So it's that idea of like taking classic KKK and like repackaging it in that modern way that a lot of modern white supremacists talk. So that they're at that stage in the evolution of the KKK. And he basically he accidentally gives them his real name when he's on the phone with them. So he's trying to the Adam Driver's trying to infiltrate the KKK as him, and they end up finding out. They go to look him up in the phone book to call him, and they find out that or they find that this black guy, like the guy who's pretending to be the KKK guy, basically the cover gets blown accidentally. And the guy who's pretending to be the KKK, his name's Ron. Real Ron, is dating like this black activist girl, and the KKK people want to go after her, and they enact this like bomb plan to like plant a bomb at her place and kill her, basically. And in the process of trying to get inducted into this chapter of the KKK, David Duke comes to town to induct Adam Driver into the KKK, and Real Ron, who is black, is tasked with protecting him, and so he has to go to the KKK meet as like a black man, and is like trying to
Oh
blend
no.
in as a black man, and it's a super tense scene, and you're like they're like David Duke is trying to appear civil because he's had this whole bit about like he doesn't hate black people, he sees them more as like pets, as like you want a good one, and so he presents himself as like a good one, quote unquote, and so they're trying to be like civil or whatever, and he's like, oh, is it okay that I take a picture with you, because my friends will never believe that this ever happened in a million years, and he's like, yeah, I guess. And so they get together, and he like does one of these things and touches them, and they all freak out, and he like runs out the door, and yeah, the climax of the thing is the girlfriend is about to get bombed, and that didn't happen. The whole bombing plot, like that didn't happen. Him like his partner is Jewish in the movie, that didn't happen. And yeah, all that. So it's kind of like it's sort of based on it, like a lot of it's based on a true story, but a lot of it's like fictionalized for a movie, but it's a good movie, man. It's really tense. It's really good. It's also kind of funny. The thing that's the most interesting to me about it to me, um, is how it shows how desperate those people are for you to want to believe what they believe, that they don't really have, like, they pretend that there's a level of discernment, they pretend like there's like they have a level of scrutiny for who joins up with them, but this movie demonstrates that they just want anyone to listen to them, and they will just believe you sight unseen, like that you would want to join their cause, and it doesn't take much to join their cause to trick them. And they're not really thinking their shit out all that much, and it's just the way it was presented was very interesting. And yeah, it's a very good movie, very tense, very funny. And it's one of those, wow, I can't believe this is a true story. Kind of. So many coincidences that when you're like, this has to be the part of this that's not true. No, that happened. Oh, that happened. The very similar movie to me in a different way was like Wolf of Wall Street, where you're like, there's no way that, oh shit, no,
Right.
that happened. The thing with the yacht, that happened.
Or
Um,
Catch Me If You Can.
yeah. It's tied into one you watched this week. Yeah. Where it's like, yeah, oh yeah, no, that happened. It may have been different, but it happened.
Yeah.
Like he did. The real guy was charged with protecting David Duke. It wasn't quite as large a gathering as it was presented in the movie, but it was a much smaller gathering. But it happened, and that's what kind of what makes it crazy. And so then my final one that I picked, um, the final one that was picked, I picked it off of a list that said based on a true story. And before I watch each of these, I kind of I kind of read the real story to sort of see what happens. And I went to do that this morning when I was going to watch it, and it was like, couldn't find it, and I'm like, oh, is it not actually based on a true story? Crap, I don't have time to. Oh no. So I'm like, I'm looking at it, and it's inspired. It's inspired by a true story. It's inspired by the story of a particular, and I'm going to do this one more loosely and a bit faster because it's a subject matter that I don't think YouTube's going to like, or Spotify probably. But it's got Boogie Nights, which is about 1970s adult film industry. It's Mark Wahlberg, very young Mark Wahlberg, one of his first movies, and he plays a male adult film star who rises through the ranks really quickly because he's charming, he's good looking, and he's particularly well endowed. They say they're like throughout the movie they keep going, oh, it's because he's a really good performer.
He's
And
very
I'm like, no, I'm
gifted.
pretty sure it's the penis thing. And you get to see it at the
He's
end, and he's gifted.
he's gifted.
But they're it's quite large. It's quite large. Anyway, um, and yeah, it's just like his rise and fall through his life. He winds up doing a bunch of drugs, and it's a really funny like representation of the 1970s. It's I only mention it because it's one of those ones where you're like, wow, hey, there's that guy. Hey, there's so like John C. Reilly's there as a co-star. Don Cheadle, Heather Graham, Burt Reynolds is great. He's honestly so great in it. He's the producer of the whole endeavor. Um, and yeah, it's one of those ones where they talk about at one point. There's a point where they move from film. Like it's one of those where you're like, yeah, I guess people went to watch those movies in movie theaters, and like they were actual movies at one point that people went to watch in the theater. So like at one point he starts to make action movies, which are also happen to be adult movies, and they want to switch over from film. They're like, yeah, we can't keep shooting these movies on film. They're too expensive. And I'm like, I can't imagine ever shooting one of those movies on film. It just seems cost prohibitive. Like they switch at a certain point, they switch over to tapes. And it's like, yeah, the idea of anyone going to a movie theater to watch one of those, it's kind of a solo activity in my opinion. But okay,
No, you're watching it for the art.
yeah, I,
The art.
but that was my last week when I signed this. I said, oh, it's based on a true story. Yeah, it's based on a true story. It's inspired by a true story, but it's very entertaining. It's very entertaining. It's very strange. Like it's very funny because Mark Wahlberg said that he regrets doing it, which I don't blame him. He does some stuff in that movie that's weird. It gets weird. It gets really weird. I can't describe any of it on here because our video will get blocked. But it's weird. But it's good. It's the same guy who did Punch Drunk Love, and he's really good at tight dialogue. The characters are interesting, albeit strange, and just overall a very interesting movie, but not so much based on a true story. I just wanted to mention it because I thought maybe I could find more information on it, and I couldn't. But that was based on a true story. um, yeah, like I say, sometimes truth, sometimes the real world is so much stranger than fiction. To tie this up, I made a video today on TikTok about Iron Claw, which I think is a kind of a funny movie because the real world story, that movie's really sad. It's a relentless parade of sadness, and the real life story was too sad. It was so sad that the movie went ooh too sad, and
Too
cut
sad.
out the parts of the real life story that were too sad, that were too over the top. So it's just wild how sometimes a real life story is way wilder than the movie could ever be. But with that, the assignment for next week, some of you, if you pay attention, have already seen it. You've already seen it. We're picking for each other. I'm still open. You can still leave comments, leaving suggestions for me. Jordan's given me mine already because he already thought them up. I think because we already gave the assignment for this week last week, I think maybe we'll give a sneak peek to one of each of the ones because I've got one for Jordan. Jordan, what's one of the ones you're gonna have me watch? Do the fun one. Do the weird one.
A weird one? Oh, you mean the one where there's a clone of a certain president who has stuff?
Yeah. It involves a Chinese clone of a certain president. That's all. That's all we're gonna say because I don't remember the actual name. Don't
Because
say.
I don't remember the name of the actual
I don't
movie.
remember the name of the actual movie, but I have to watch that for next week. So enjoy hearing about that. And Jordan's got to watch as retaliation. He's got to watch one of the movies he hates that I've since changed my mind on. And we say it was the worst movie we've ever seen, but I've changed my
I
tune
said
on
it
it.
was I said, to be fair, when we watched it originally, I said it was a bad movie, but a good book on tape or audiobook or book.
I've since changed my tune. I actually think it's a great movie. But he has to watch Buried. Ryan Reynolds Buried. So that's what he has to watch for next week.
Uh,
Hopefully next week, no technical issues on Discord because that was very distracting. And then
yeah, you're still just a spinning blue. This entire time, I've just been talking to a spinning blue circle.
yeah,
Um, and so I've been talking like I'm talking to the you of like 10 seconds ago on YouTube because that's the only visual of you that I have.
see, for me, every once in a while, it becomes one of those old Chinese, Japanese kung fu movies where the lips don't match up. Godzilla movies,
Yeah.
the lips don't match up, and you're talking, but there's no sound. I don't know why. I've never had this issue before, and it's gonna get really tedious because I keep bringing it up. But I just cannot. It's really hard to explain how distracting it is when you're trying to talk to somebody. Um, but with that, after next week, that is our season finale. That's the big season finale. If people want to show up for the big season finale and make it a big season finale, that's our season one finale, and then we will be back in 2 weeks, or at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. We will be back with our season premiere. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. There will be a teaser and a hint that will come before we come back. I'll probably film that by myself. That will say what it is. All I'll say is it's gonna be an epic two-parter. That's all I'm gonna say.
Ooh.
So the season premiere when we're back in after we were on vacation, after we're back, season premiere, 2 week two-parter. Get excited for that. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk about some fun stuff. Epic two-parter. It's gonna be a good time. But until
Get
then,
excited.
until then,
Get excited.
until
Get
then, we're gonna
excited.
wrap up the show. We're gonna once again thank the sponsor for this video, for this podcast,
Thank you.
TrophySmack.com. Once again,
TrophySmack.com.
please click our link. Go check them out. They're totally worth
Do
it.
it.
It's totally
Do
cool.
it.
Thanks
Do
to
it.
them.
Do it.
Um, If you want to contact the show, you can join our Discord. The link to that is in the bio. That's where you can leave suggestions as well as the comments on the YouTube video. You can leave it there. You can talk to us. You can hang out with us. If you want to, you can come join the podcast as a special guest star. You're more than welcome to do that. I mean, maybe give me a heads up so it doesn't surprise me. But you can certainly do that. That's in the description. You can follow me on TikTok. I do what we do here, but shorter. I also post clips from here on there. If you don't want to watch the whole podcast, that's cool. A lot of the shorts go on there. I'm posting. At least I try to do every day. Again, link in the description for that. You can email the show at itsjustinsbusiness@gmail.com if you want to make suggestions, comments, queries. You have something to say. All I ask, no junk pics. Don't send me your genitals. I don't want to see genitals. No, thank you. Consent is important. But that's itsjustinsbusiness@gmail.com. Jordan, where can they find you?
Minecraft Monday, Zethgore187 on Twitch.
And guys, we say this every week, but if enough of you show up on a Minecraft Monday at the same time, consistently, he might stream other games. He might stream other stuff other than Minecraft.
It might happen.
It could happen. It very well could happen.
It's happened in the past. If you motivate me enough, it could happen in the future.
It could happen in the future. You can do that. But that has been the Spur of the Moment podcast. We've had a good time. We will see you